Guys, welcome to the new episode of the 35K podcast. I am your host, MD, and Michael David, if you know me really well. Well, today is a special episode of the one-on-one where I get to sit down with somebody that I think is amazing, damn near badass, and has an incredible story of overcoming life and the struggles and the adversities that you face by using your 35,000 decisions to overcome the things that we all face. But how you handle them with your reactions and decisions can ultimately define where you are versus where you want to go. If you've been listening for any amount of time, you know that the show has taken a little bit of a pivot, because I love to pivot. Because pivot is showing progress. Progress is because of decisions. Decisions create outcomes. And this show is based on trying to help empower everybody in how to take your 35,000 daily decisions that we make as adults to build a life you're proud of versus one that holds you back. So typically you're going to hear a mic drop with MD. That's where I'm going to take a topic and just share what's on my mind and my heart. The one-on-ones like today. Well, today in the 35K studio is a very dear friend of mine, one that I met about 3 years ago, and quickly, just as life has, just hit it off the bat. Just one of the most endearing people I've ever gotten to know, just so honest and sincere. But also one of the people who quickly will use her life to inspire other people. She's very careful how she does it and who she does it with. And I'm very grateful that she has entrusted me to just be a very genuine, sincere friend. This guest today is May Adams. If you know her on Instagram, she's known as Let's Drink Pink. So follow her. As a wife, as a mother, as a friend, a daughter, daughter-in-law, sister-in-law, friend to a lot of people. On the outside, you see this suburban mompreneur, and you think she's got it all together. But the interesting thing about May is she'll quickly admit she doesn't.
That's right.
But you have taken a lot of hits, but you've also learned a lot of lessons as a result.
Absolutely.
And you're still on your way.
Yep.
But you show people what it's like along your way, using fitness, using health, and your life, and just how you're building it every day.
Absolutely.
So guys, May Adams in the studio, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited. I'm excited to share my story. I don't really open up to a lot of people about this because, you know, I've always said I don't want pity, you know?
Yeah.
So it's really hard, but at the same time, I know that there are people who struggle with the things that I've struggled with, the things that I've come out of. And if I can help someone, even just one person, then I'm happy.
So let's just start off with the bat. Now, you grew up in Columbus, Ohio.
I did, yes.
You're one of
5 sisters.
all girls.
All girls.
Where do you fall?
I'm the 4th.
Wow.
So I'm the baby on my dad's side, which that's a story. And then I'm the oldest on my mom's side.
Okay. Well, so when did your mom and dad get together? How old were you?
When my mom and dad got together, how old was I?
Or wait, so, because wait, your mom?
My real dad, my biological dad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but my stepdad is my dad. And I'll get into that. He's my angel.
Same. Yeah.
I'm already like in tears.
My mom and my biological dad split when I was like year and a half, 2 years old.
Okay.
And kind of estranged, didn't really have a relationship until many years later. But my stepdad and my mom got married when I was about 4.
Okay.
And I took his last name. Like there's
Same.
Did you?
Yep, he adopted me. I have his last name.
Look at that. Holy crap, I never knew that.
I know, yeah.
That's amazing.
Because I don't share a lot. Because, you know, yeah.
Yeah. Now, I did grow up in the summers spending time with my biological dads, with my cousins and my aunts and uncles.
Okay.
I have 2 half-sisters as a result. Incredible women. Nikki is a mom, and she still lives in Carson City outside of Lake Tahoe. And then Lauren is she's some kind of regional director with In-N-Out, like crushing. Wow. She's been working there since she was in high school, just crushing it.
Wow.
Living their best life.
Yeah.
But it was always a unique relationship growing up with that, because I I did run into my real dad. I think it was like 7 or 8. It's at the mall. And
Wow.
my stepdad actually sat me down afterwards. I thought it was a friend of my dad's from work. But I remember this striking white hair and this very wrinkled, shiny shirt.
Yeah.
Had no idea it was my dad.
Wow.
And my stepdad, he was like, "Do you know who that was?" I'm like, "His friend from work." He was, "No, that was your dad." You're my dad. Like, it was kind of a weird thing for me, right? But so I relate to that because it's definitely, it creates a very unique upbringing.
Yes. Absolutely.
So kind of, what's his personality like?
Oh my gosh. He's very patient. He's funny. He makes me laugh every time I'm with him. He is very loving. He's just, God, to me, he's perfect, you know?
How old were you when they got married?
When he came into our life, I was 8 years old.
Wow.
I was 8 years old. And
when did your mom and your biological dad split?
so
I want you to have tears in the I'm just kidding.
I have already crying. You know, my mom was raped by my dad.
Wow.
Yes. And I'm the product of that. And I used to be ashamed of that. And I think that's why I told you my biggest struggle has always been self-esteem. And so when I tell you my stepdad is my angel, and, you know, he truly is, before my mom met him and before they got together, I had a really rough upbringing, not because of my mom. My mom also, like, she did her best. And I mean, when I tell you my mom is an angel, my mom is an angel. But as a single mom, choosing to keep a child from a rape, I admire her. I do. And she went through a lot. She struggled being a single mom in Mexico, where, you know, you don't have
This was in Mexico?
Yeah. Well, no, my dad is from Spain, and my mom is Mexican. My mom was in Spain traveling with my niece. And so that I have the best relationship with my sisters on that side. But yeah, that's what happened. And, you know, that's one of the reasons I struggled for a long time. And like I was saying before, my mom met my stepdad. My mom went through a lot. I went through a lot as a kid, from mental, physical, and emotional abuse. It's just so much crap, you know? And my dad,
did they stay together?
My real dad and my dad passed away. Okay. My biological dad ended up passing away from cancer. And I was around 4 years old. And he did apologize to my mom, and you know, that whole side of the family did everything they could to try to help my mom. But I mean, I don't know what it's like being in those shoes, so I really don't know what my mom went through. And
so she came back to Mexico after that?
She went back to Mexico.
Okay.
Yep, and she raised me there for the first 4 years of my life.
Wow.
And then she decided she wanted to come here to the United States to give us a better future. And she left us there for about a year with my grandma and some of her family members. And that's where I was physically abused, mentally abused. So it was
By her family?
by her family. Yes. And so it was one of the hardest years, and I was only 4 or 5 years old. So I struggled with my self-esteem for a long, long time.
Wow, man. This was in Columbus?
This was in Mexico.
Okay.
For a whole year. Yeah. Okay. She left us there.
So what did she go do?
She came here.
Oh,
she came
to kind of
here
get ready and get everything prepared.
ready
okay.
to, she got her green card. She got her legally to bring us here and just give us a different life.
So she came over here for a year to get things prepared.
Yes.
So she left you with her family.
Me and my sister, my little sister, because then she got pregnant when I was about 3 years old. And so then, she had my little sister, and she decided that's not where she wanted to raise us. And so she came here to prepare for a whole year to bring us, but she had to, leave us there for a year.
I can't even imagine.
And not a lot of people know that. I don't think I've actually shared that.
I can't, just as a
parent, right? Like, now that I have kids, I'm like, God, I'm so blessed. And that's why when I tell you, my biggest dream has always been to be a stay-at-home mom. I cherish being a mom. I love it. I love being a wife. I love being home with my babies. I love doing everything with them. I live and breathe for my kids because of what I saw my mom go through. And I wish, my mom did everything she could. And we talk about this a lot, her and I, and just how much I thank her for fighting through life and never giving up, especially on me. I didn't know my mom had been raped until I was about 18 years old. And I would have never thought that because she never made me feel that way, But of course, like I was telling you earlier, I feel like a lot of trauma starts in the womb, and then never feeling accepted by her family, and then finding out that she had been raped and I had been, the product of that. And just, God, it's hard.
Like I'm not laughing because it's funny.
No, yeah.
It's just, that is, wow, May. So being a mom,
yes,
and just your passion for being present, building a home that you weren't able to have. So this is your way to create
yes,
what you didn't get.
Yes.
At such a level with so much heart so that you could show your mom almost as a thank you.
Yes. Like, look, because of you fighting hard, because of you loving us hard and doing everything that you did for us, I'm able to have this. And now I'm able to give my babies what I'm sure you wanted to give us.
I think I met your mom. Was she there that day that we did photos?
Yes.
Okay.
No. Yes, I think so. Yes, you did. You met her. Yep. That's my mom.
Wow. It just took me back.
Yeah.
Man.
I know.
Gosh, she must be so proud of you.
Thank you. She does say that, but I'm like, man, I know I failed her a lot. I got pregnant at 19 and that, I thought, man, I was like, how am I going to tell my mom? She wanted me to go to college. She wanted me to do all these things that she never got to do herself. And, and I wanted to do them, but life happens. Life happens. And I got pregnant.
That must be a hot date.
Right? Well, it was on Valentine's Day, so...
Man, he did it right, didn't he? Oh,
right?
Man, he might need to write a book.
Yeah, for real. But, yeah, so I thought... So I was like, oh, shoot, how am I going to tell her? And she's a Mexican mom, so... But actually, surprisingly, I did tell my husband, be prepared, because my mom she met him once. We had just been dating for 3 months, and then boom, 19 and pregnant. And I didn't know how to share that with my mom, but I was like, Mom, I'm pregnant. And she actually told me, I know. I was like, why? No, there's no way Like, how do you know? Like, I just found out. But she said a mom knows. A mom knows.
There's a vibe.
Yeah. And she hugged me. She cried. And she said, everything's going to be okay. And this is something else that I don't really share because it's hard for me. But I wanted to have an abortion.
Wow, really?
I did. And because I felt like, damn, I have a scholarship to Ohio State. And I've just thrown that away. I was a partier. Yeah. You wouldn't think that now. Because I'm such an introvert. But yeah, I was a partier and I wasn't ready. I didn't think I was ready to give all of that up to raise a child. And my mom sat me down and she reminded me of, what she had gone through. And she said, ultimately, this is your decision, But she talked to me and even my husband, he wasn't my husband at that time, but he was like, listen, I'll take the baby. I'll raise him. I got to go back to Texas for work, but I'll take him with me. Yep. And then just the love that I got from him and my mom, I was like, man, do I really want to do this? And then I went to the first ultrasound, heard his heartbeat, and I was like,
you were done.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was like, oh my God, no. I love this child already. And he's going to be 9 tomorrow on Halloween. So, but God.
All 3 of my kids. I went to every visit, every ultrasound, everything. And every single time I heard the heartbeat, I would cry. Yes. Every single time.
Yep. It gets you, man. Like, gosh, that's like the most beautiful sound.
You just created a human.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It's hard to fathom.
It is. It really is.
Just the mathematical statistic of creating life in and of itself. To be that little person in this world at this time with you and your husband.
Yep.
To have that. Wow, what a...
I should have warned you.
No, I'm glad you didn't, honestly. Damn me. Where we are in society right now with a lot of legal changes since Roe v. Wade. I was born right before or right after Roe v. Wade. Not that, my mom had me when she was 21. My dad still wanted to just party and smoke dope and rock and roll, He was hippie. Mom kind of just hunkered down. She's like, okay, this is what I got to do. Right. You kind of had this just showering of love, even for your now husband, to say, it almost is like, damn, all these people, I need to level up.
Yeah.
Right. But just that immense sacrifice of, okay, you know what, go do your thing.
Yeah.
And we're going to help you do that. It's most people don't do that at that level.
I agree.
With such a heart of, I want to make sure that you live your dream. Right. But then you hear that heartbeat and you're like, this is my dream.
Yep, exactly.
Everything I thought I wanted to accomplish is not really what I wanted to accomplish.
This is it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. You heard that first heartbeat.
Oh,
and I was
like, oh my gosh. And before I even knew the sex of the baby, I was like, this is a boy. This is a boy. And everyone thought I was crazy because everyone thought I was having a girl. And I was like, no, I've seen him in my dreams, which was crazy. I had seen a little baby boy. And I was like, this is a boy. And so I went and bought a bunch of boy clothes. And everyone was like, oh, you're only about 9 weeks pregnant. And I was like, I don't care. And it was a boy. My precious little baby boy.
Where's your sister in all this?
My younger sister. Well, she was 16 at that time.
Okay.
And she's gone through her own stuff too.
Yeah.
I can't talk about what she's gone through because that's her own journey and all of that. But she was going through her own stuff, and I don't really honestly think she knew much of what was going on. Yeah, I'm really close with my mom. That's my best friend. That's my best friend. But I really don't talk much about stuff like that with my sister.
So how did you and your husband meet?
We met on Plenty of Fish.
No kidding?
Yeah. So, like I said,
were you a personality that
No.
you had to err on that side of it?
No. So a friend was like, "You're so boring." Because I had a scholarship, and I wanted to do amazing in school, and I was just focused on school. I knew what I wanted to do, and she was like, "You need a date." And I was like, "Do I?" And she was like, "I mean, at least like have fun, So she created the Plenty of Fish for me. And one day I was like, I'm going to see if people actually have sent me messages. Like, I doubt it, but I'm going to check. And of course, like I'm going through like these messages and they're all like cheesy. And I'm like, ugh, like I don't like that, And then I have this guy who's just like, hi or hey. And I was like, gosh, he's not even trying, So I was like, I'm going to message him back. And yeah, that's how it started.
Plenty of Fish.
Plenty of Fish, POF. So thank you, Plenty of Fish.
So he was living in Texas?
He was living in Ohio. He's in the oil and gas field.
Okay.
And so he was there on a job. And I'm sure he was also trying to have fun, I guess. I mean,
different zip code.
I'm like, why were you on Plenty of Fish?
I don't know. Why were you in the liquor store?
Right. And so yeah, that's how we met. It's funny. I ghosted him for a while, and then we ran into each other, which is crazy. And we hit it off again, and yeah, we now 3 kids later.
What is it about him that when you guys had your first date?
Oh my gosh. Okay, I will never forget him opening doors for me.
Chivalry.
Yes. Yes. And I was like, is this guy okay? Because I'm from Ohio. I was raised in Ohio from the time I was 5 years old up until I left to come here to Texas, which was, I think, 19. I had Noah, and then 3 months later, we moved to Texas. And so I was like, my gosh, like you don't see that much here, up north.
It's that Southern chivalry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am,
like,
no, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah.
The yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Then we went to the mall together, and some lady, he was like, yes, ma'am. And she was like, I have a daughter. And I'm like, I'm right here. I'm not your daughter, but he's with me. Okay. And so I was like, man, I really, really want to date this guy. I really, really like him, And he told me he was in love with me the first day. So
really?
Yes. He was like, do you believe in love at first sight or like soulmates? And I was like, because I wasn't that type of girl,
You're like, not really.
No, I did. I was like, I don't.
But that didn't turn you off though.
No, it didn't, which is crazy because
nowadays you'd be considered crazy if you said something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And so
Talk about getting ghosted.
Yeah, for real, right?
You actually express your feelings these days. It's completely weaponized against you.
Yeah, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. You get canceled.
But you were like, I'm not going to say no.
No, I told him no. I said, I don't believe in that, but I
Did
really
you say
like
no,
you.
but you were like, I don't know though.
No, I said, I straight up said, no, boy, I don't believe in love at first sight, But again, I think just being raised in a different place, just I think that has. So,
because when your mom and your stepdad got together, you were how old?
8.
You were 8 years old. So, and just watching that.
My stepdad reminds me of my husband.
Of course he does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
that's it.
Oh,
that's the law of relationships when it comes to women and their men.
Yes. Which is crazy because, you'd be like, oh, but that's her stepdad or whatever. And I'm like.
It's the model of that father figure.
Yeah. And I never introduce him as my stepdad. He's my dad.
That's what I've always said too.
Yeah. He's my dad. But of course I'm saying that because, I'm sharing my story. And so, yeah. But my dad.
I forget when I talk about, like my dad when I was born, because my dad has since passed. But then I talk about, I talked to my dad the other day on the phone. He's like, wait. You talk to dead people? Like, yeah. I'm really confused. For me, like, it makes sense up here for me because it's always just been dad.
Yep.
I've never referred to him as my stepdad.
Yeah. Same.
I don't like those terminologies.
Nope, me either.
Even like, my kids, their mom, it's not my ex-wife, it's my kid's mom.
Yeah.
I just don't like the connotation of the negative thing. And it's just weird for me.
Yeah, it really is. Even like my husband, he was raised by his stepdad, and he's always told people like, yeah, he's my stepdad, but to me, he's my dad. Like, he raised him. Mm-hmm. My husband knows everything because of his stepdad,
Do they get along?
Oh yeah, they do. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They do. And my husband, gosh, he really admires his stepdad and loves him, and he has him on a pedestal. Yeah. My husband doesn't really show his emotions, doesn't talk about his feelings. But he tells me how much he loves his stepdad. And I'm like, dang, yeah, me too. I'm glad we can really connect on that too. Cause he has his biological dad, which he really loves and has a great relationship with too. But I don't have my biological dad. So I'm like, it's great to know that we can actually really talk about this too and connect. We both have stepdads. We were both raised by them. We both freaking adore them. So it's awesome. So
if it wasn't love at first sight for you, when was it that you actually were like, I think I love this guy?
Oh, I knew I really loved him when he told me he would take the baby and let me be happy, let me do my thing. And I was like, man, do I want to let go of this guy? Because I'll tell you right now, I wasn't very pleasant to live with. I wasn't. And I never want, a lot of my friends are like, man, how do you guys have this perfect marriage? Or, gosh, I wish I had a marriage like yours. And people really don't see behind the scenes and how much work it takes to have a successful marriage. We've been together for 10 years, married for, I think, 8. I'm like, I think 8. But like I said, I wasn't pleasant to live with. I think that a lot of the emotional,
physical rage just coming back from
everything. I would take it out on him because he lived with me, and I always had to have validation from friends and just people who really didn't care about me, and I feel like it all stems back to, how I grew up, and I would use everything that happened to me to be this toxic person, and I didn't realize it. Sometimes I did, sometimes I didn't. And sometimes I had this like, oh, I'm a victim personality, and I would take a lot of things out on him, and, I would blame him for getting pregnant. And I'm like, well, it takes 2 to tango, but I was also, I don't want to make this an excuse, but also really young to really just understand everything on another level, And so I did to him what had been done to me as a child. I slapped him once, and I'm not proud of that. And, so it got physical sometimes. And I was very verbally abusive. Very, very, very. But I remember on my 21st birthday, I had a friend who asked me, and she was like, May, do you know Jesus? And I was like, yeah, I do. I grew up going to church every day. Trust me. Like, I know who Jesus is, And she asked me for my address. I gave it to her because we were doing this acting thing together at Page Parks, and we had been roomed together. And she sent me a book, a devotional. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to start reading it. And then when I started working on my relationship with the Lord is really when I was able to really start loving my husband like he should have been loved from the beginning. And I had to make that decision to not allow my past to be an excuse to be a toxic person.
Yeah.
You have to make that decision. Like, is that really who you want to be? Do you really want to use that to also abuse other people or to help other people? And I knew I wanted my son to have, a great example of what a wife should be, of what a mother should be. And I knew that wasn't it. And I had to check myself. And a lot of the times you have to check yourself. You do, because until you do, you won't change.
Mm-hmm. Had it just been pinned up in you? I mean, had you dated through high school, and had you found some of that toxicity in relationships?
I had dated, but it was, I had a problem with commitment. So
Churn and burn. You just date for a little bit, and
once it turned me off once they were like super sweet, or like, you know, this cheesy stuff that I didn't like. I was like, I'm out. It's true, you know. And I think also because
based on what you had gone through as a kid, because that required vulnerability that got you hurt.
Exactly, and I did not want to be vulnerable. So
you'd err on the side of controlling that whole situation by immediately being this abrasive person in that context.
Yep, and so I always tell myself too, like I wanted my husband to leave me. I wanted to make it hell for him so that he could just leave, and so because everyone always left. And so I couldn't understand why this man wanted to love me and why he would stay day after, you know, being verbally abused. And I mean, I was not nice. And we clearly we've worked through it. We've grown so much, and now we laugh and we're like, wow, people really think we've always had this perfect marriage, but don't realize how much crap we've gone through and how much we've had to overcome together to get to where we are now. Because now I can tell you right now, we have the perfect marriage. When I tell you, I know, like, I don't believe in like perfect this, perfect that, but I'm telling you, like, we talk about everything. We respect each other on everything. Gosh, he's my best friend. He is, and I know I'm his best friend.
The reflection of that ring, just like.
Oh. Thanks.
You know, listening to this story, it's interesting, May, because people, when they get into a relationship that triggers things that deeply impact us, that we covered up with a lot of layers.
Yes.
It's almost as if it's not that you were trying to duplicate rejection. It's that you were trying to find the man that was willing to punch through all those brick walls that you had built up.
Yeah.
So you kept reinforcing the wall to see if he was strong enough to get through.
Absolutely. Yep.
Because if you were going to end up being vulnerable with somebody, they had to earn it.
Yes.
But you also had to, there was a level of, I'm going to show him the ugliest I can show him so that I can finally feel a little bit of assurance, because every other male relationship I've had hurt me. You have a child with this man, incredible man, who clearly you know he loved you, but you weren't able to be loved yet because there was just too much that had happened. So you were trying to almost test it.
Yes.
Give him everything you could to just, you kept throwing it's like those chase scenes when you like throw down a chair and a table as you're trying to run away to see finally when you come to the end of it, like, so you're the one.
Yep.
You're the one that made it.
Yeah, right? It's just, like you said, just being disappointed by every man in my life, you know, starting with my biological dad and then being sexually abused at 5 years old by another really close man in my life. And then emotionally abused by all of my mom's family, really. I remember.
Was it because of the context of your life, of how it started?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes. And I didn't know.
No shit.
Yeah. And so one day I was talking to one of my uncles and I was like, why do you guys hate me so much? And you know, he didn't know my mom had already told me, but he said, you know, my sister was raped. But that's not my fault. You know, and so they would call me when I remember when I was in kindergarten, in first grade and second grade. They knew my mom went to work early and I walked to the bus by myself. Nowadays you really can't let your kids do that.
No,
You know,
not a chance in hell.
no. But they would call me right before school and I'd answer because I'm like, oh, who's calling? And they'd always remind me, remember, no one loves you. Everyone hates you and you're ugly. Almost every day from kindergarten to second grade. Yep. And
How did you process that, May?
I don't know, because I never told my mom until I was 18. That's when we really sat down and really opened up about a lot of things. My mom didn't know I was molested. And I'm not going to say who because...
It's not important.
No, and I've forgiven. I have, and I'm, like you said, not important. But I don't know, and I think that's why I've always struggled with relationships and self-worth, self-esteem, everything. And, some of my friends are like, May, but you're so pretty, and I hate that because I'm like, I genuinely do not believe that. And I'm never looking for compliments, I swear. But, some people may think that. And it's like, if only you knew why, And I think now people are like, well, how did you get out of that? Or how, what's helped you? Developing a relationship with Christ. That's what gives me the courage to keep going. That's what gives me the strength and to just, be who I know I was created to be.
How long did it take for you to realize that your husband actually loved you?
I had always known from the moment he told me he was in love with me and love at first sight, because let me tell you, even though, like I told you, I wasn't very nice, he remained the same. He remained loving, patient, never yelled at me, never did to me what I did to him. And I really do believe that God sent him to save me. I really, really, really do believe that, because he has just, other than my stepdad, he's been another angel in my life. Mm-hmm. I've always known he loves me because he's always shown it.
It's pretty incredible how your stepdad became this father figure to help, because that age, the most formidable years are the years that you were the most traumatized.
Oh God. And let me tell you before I forget, I also tried pushing my stepdad away when I was 8. I would kick him when he was dating my mom. He'd take us out to eat and I'd kick him so hard in the shins. And I'm like, he's not going to come back. I was just so afraid of getting close to people, especially men.
It's protection.
Yeah. And so, my mom, before my stepdad, she was in another relationship, and he abused her. Oh my gosh, he abused her. And so I didn't want someone else coming in and abusing her and abusing us. And so I would kick him. I would slap him. I would tell him like, we don't want you. And I was so mean. I was such an angry child. And clearly he didn't care. He was there to love us. He was very patient, and he really did nurture us.
Wow.
Yeah.
To somebody who could be in the position that your mom is, or that your mom was with you. Pregnant from a violent act. What would you say to them?
Man, I really don't know what I would say to them, because I've never been in that situation, that position. But
you are who's inside of them.
But I was going to say, I'm very thankful that my mom chose to have me. I'm very grateful that she gave me a chance at life. And now I have my own babies. Had she just aborted me, which, you know, she had the right to. I mean, I can't imagine. But I thank her. I thank her for having me and giving me that chance, that opportunity to be May and, you know, raise me. And I mean, even if you go on without raising, you know, she actually gave me up for adoption, to one of my older sisters. She couldn't have kids and she wanted me. So my mom did. My mom ended up giving me up for adoption. But she came back real quick and she was like, this is my baby. I love her and I want her. And she did everything she could to raise me and give me everything I ever needed. Maybe not everything I ever wanted, but she sure as hell tried, you know? And, I mean, just really think about it and think about that little life as well, you know? Mm-hmm. But I really don't know what else I would say.
What about to a girl who may find herself in a similar situation that you were, or who's a teenager and had maybe a lot of trouble coming up and just, whether it was a product of a violent act or not, but coming up through with a lot of abuse in their family. Every male figure has been taking advantage of them and they find themselves just where you were.
Yeah.
What would you say to her?
I would say, one, you're here for a reason. And you can't powerfully minister about something that you haven't walked out of. And this is possibly something that, you know, if you're going through it, then it's your ministry. It's not going to be easy. It may be a long road, but you have to love yourself, learn to love yourself. I personally developed a relationship with Christ. I would say to do the same. Because when you find yourself in Christ, you find who you really were born to be. And you learn to not need validation and love from the world. And you find it all in Christ. And I would just say, you're worth it. Keep going. You're beautiful. And you are here for a reason. And you got to believe that. You got to fight. You got to fight through it. And you are loved. Believe it or not, you are loved.
So that's the last thing you feel.
Yep.
Right? That you even trust.
Yes. But you are.
How hard is forgiveness?
Oh my God. Forgiveness is extremely hard. I feel like people say, oh, forgiveness is easy. Oh, no. Not when you've gone through things like this or other things, but it's not easy to forgive and it's not easy to forget either. Like, you know, they say forgive and forget. You probably never forget. But I do believe that when you do truly forgive, even though you may not forget, you can't keep reliving that. You know, what was it that you said today?
Talking about memories? Yes.
And you said you look at the scar, but you don't look at what caused the scar, right?
That's the interesting thing about scars. You know, we deal with a memory, and every time we revisit a memory, we're unpacking it like we're unpacking a box of something we've had in the attic. And the moment you unpack whatever that memory was, typically it's going to be negative. It's going to be something hard. You're going to add to it the emotions you feel currently. And then when you're done thinking about it, you're going to stuff it back in the box and tape it back up and put up. But now it's going to be almost reborn with the negativity, the stress, the anxiety that it's triggering now.
Yeah.
But if you're able to take that memory and revisit it and look at who you became as a result, what you learned from it, you take it from being a wound to being a scar, because a scar is not, you can look at a scar one of two ways. It's either a trigger for the pain that that scar was born from, or you can look at the scar and go, look at the power in which I healed.
Yeah.
The power in which I healed is your ministry.
Mm-hmm.
The power of healing is something that was created in us to overcome something painful,
Mm-hmm.
something that did damage to us.
Yes.
But the scar tissue is actually stronger,
Mm-hmm.
which is fascinating. It's
Yep.
harder. You know, my daughter, she working out at the gym, and she caught right about here on the galvanized track of the garage door and ripped it all the way up. This was a few weeks after I split my head open. And so she's got her own blood trail coming through the house. But when they did the suture, the scar tissue was so fibrous that it was causing damage to the carpal nerve. And so they had to go back in and open it back up, and the surgeon had to go in and do a whole bunch of stuff. And so we've been doing therapy for about 3 times a week, where the occupational therapist goes through and does all these treatments, massaging it, and Kira has to rub through it a lot to help alleviate the fiber scar tissue getting too hard and too strong and causing too much damage. That could be, chronic.
Wow.
So, but when you look at a scar, and this is what I think is interesting about life in general, everything that we go through, everything we do, there is an example, there is an analogy, there's a lesson you can take, whether being an athlete, which a lot of my lessons come from. But if you just even look at our own human body and you look at the ability to cut it, and then it'll heal. It'll heal quicker if you clean it and if you protect it while it heals. But so often we go through these emotional traumas, and the only thing that we know to heal it is just pack it with dirt.
Yep.
Dirt will work,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not going to heal the best way.
Right.
And so then when we finally have to come to a point where somebody steps on our hand, they didn't mean to hurt us, but they step on that area,
Yes.
and we get triggered.
Mm-hmm.
And so often, this is what's interesting about the dynamic of relationships, because I'm sure your husband has triggered things
Mm-hmm.
that still you didn't know that triggered you.
Yeah.
I mean, shit, I was, relationships, we bring more baggage to our relationships than every airline combined, but we just don't know what baggage we bring half the time because we've covered up so much of it over our lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
But so many people, when they get triggered, they blame the person that triggered it by accident.
Yes.
And we end up hurting the person as if they're the ones that traumatized us, and they're not.
Yep.
And so it creates this constant divide of vengeance. How dare you?
Mm-hmm.
But a trigger is actually an incredible thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's uncomfortable. It's painful. Yes. But that trigger shows us something that hasn't been healed yet.
Yep.
Now, most people lash out, cover it up so we can just move on, forget about it.
Mm-hmm.
I need to push that away, so I don't want to feel that pain.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can actually face it and unpack that for a minute
Mm-hmm.
with that was horrible.
Yep.
That happened. And to sit in it for a minute and just kind of, oh my God, I can't. You were so little.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't stop it. All these things that went with it that we suppress and cover up and tuck away and hide and put underneath a rug.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever something does get triggered, I've learned to ask myself, why does that trigger me? Because it gets me out of the emotion
Mm-hmm.
of it and gets me into a lesson.
Mm-hmm.
Why did that just trigger me so bad? Because it's not their fault
Right.
that I got triggered.
Yep. But see, I feel like it's hard for people to really sit back and ask themselves that,
Mm-hmm.
At least for me, it was. It used to be really hard for me to sit back and be like, oh, am I the problem, or why is this a problem for me? Why is this triggering me? And then, you got to ask yourself, oh shoot, am I the problem? It's hard. It's hard to sit down and really unpack everything, like you were saying, just think about why it's triggering you and what happened to really heal. And it's hard.
We, our first 20, 24 years is where our brains really, that's where they develop. That's where we, especially, 0 to 6, 0 to 5, the most formidable. Foundations are set, relationship, emotion, nurturing. That's where all that starts. But we end up in the first 20, 24 years of our life as our brains mature. We're also adding layers upon layers to cover up the things that threatened us, that scared us, that, not to say that we all deal with traumatic moments in our life, maybe not necessarily as harmful as a lot of physical abuse, sexual abuse, a lot of really just intentional emotional abuse, but hard moments. And so we add these layers like an onion.
Yep.
And then we come to a point in life where as adults, we start to peel those layers back and get back to who we actually are, not who we had to become.
Yes.
But every time we pull a layer back, it exposes something else that we didn't know that existed.
But that's when you start to grow. And that's when you start to heal. It's hard, but that's really when you start to, truly become the person you were meant to be before all this trauma. So,
I heard this fantastic outlook. He said one of the problems that we deal with as adults is we've lost that curiosity and adventure like we had as a kid. When, I look at my little boy Dax, 3.5 years old. Everything for him is amazing.
Yeah.
Splashing water in the sink and getting him wet and the mirror wet and everything wet, to him is amazing. To an adult, you're like, you're really inconveniencing me right now.
Yeah.
But to him, it's amazing. And the way that kids dream and the way that they see the life is just everything is brand new to them.
Yes.
Every smell, every wind, every cloud, every leaf of grass they put their bare toes on, everything to them is a new experience, filling their register with what life is building and what's happening for them. But as we add these layers, we start to lose that sense of adventure. We lose the sense of looking up and going, wow, that is a really cool cloud.
Yeah.
Because we get so caught up in being adults and we end up just staying horizontal.
Yeah.
Or looking at the ground because we've lost the ability to look up because everything weighs on us so much.
Yeah.
And forgiveness is, we are not meant to forget. We forgive though, so that we can cut the umbilical cord of the emotional string that we're holding on to. And it's self-induced.
Yeah.
The people that hurt us, they're never going to know how bad they hurt us.
Yep. That's true.
They never will. And they also don't care. Forgiveness is so that we can move on and cut the weight.
Yeah.
Because if we hold on to all the anger, the hurt, the frustration, the sense of vengeance, we're basically adding on weight onto rope and we're having to drag it behind us.
Yep.
And it's no wonder we lose hope. It's no wonder we feel like we can't do anything because we're dragging an entire lifetime of trauma behind us.
Yep.
That if we just and it's not that you say, okay, I forgive them and it's over. Forgiveness is every time that thought comes up, you literally tell yourself, they chose to do that. And it's not my fault.
Yep.
Who I am, that's on me.
Absolutely. That's deep.
And every time it comes up,
Yep.
and over time, forgiveness is not something you say, it's something you do.
Yes.
And it takes time. It's like faith.
It takes a long time. Yeah.
But the more that you begin to cut ties with things that no longer serve you, you're able to process those events past
Yeah.
and current way faster. Because you get better at letting go of things that don't serve the better version of you.
Yeah.
But see, how old are you, May?
I'm 28.
Some people have a lifetime where they never face and never get a chance to actually enjoy a fulfilling relationship.
Yep.
Because they get stuck in where you were 19, 20, 21.
Yep.
Right? But for you, there was a series of events or time that brought you to a place of who I've been is not who I want to be. because this is not the marriage I want. This is not creating the husband that I want.
Or the children that I, yeah.
Whenever you would lash out at your husband and you would get volatile, could you see it on him? Like how it was impacting him?
Yes.
How did that make you feel?
Honestly, horrible. Every time I did it, it made me feel horrible. And I would cry and I would say, why am I doing this to him? Like I felt bad, but I couldn't stop it. It was the craziest thing. I know it sounds crazy, but I couldn't stop it. Even though I wanted to, and I knew what I was doing was wrong and I was hurting him, I didn't know how to stop it.
When did you start to feel like you were beginning to get control on that?
When I started reading my devotional.
Really?
Absolutely. I felt like God really was starting to mold me. And that's when I started unpacking feelings and memories. And I started healing and I started, telling myself like, this is not who I want to be. This is not who I am. And, I started, learning how to control. Sometimes, I still like things trigger me, but I respond better. I used to lash out. And now I laugh. I go in my room. I pray. I still get a little mad, but it's not a big deal. Not like it used to be. But yeah, working.
It's not this uncontrollable monster.
Exactly. Yeah. Because I was a monster. And I told you, like, when people talk about like being in abusive relationships as women, I'm like, man, I was the abuser, but
he can't speak for himself here, but how was he able to remain compassionate?
I don't know.
Have you guys ever talked about that?
I've asked him. I'm like, yeah, I have said, Tim, why did you stay with me? And he always says, because I love you. And that always reminds me of the love that Christ has for us. We're like, God, we're such sinners. And I know I fail God daily. I know I do. But it always reminds me, man, if a human man in flesh can love me that much, I can't even imagine how much God loves me. If this man is willing to stay with me through all of that, and when I ask him, why did you stay? And he says, because I love you. Wow. And that always makes me think, wow, like I want to love people like that. And he is the reason why I feel like I have learned to really love. He's taught me that.
Actions.
Yes.
He just remained consistent.
Always.
I mean, did he ever flare up and try to defend himself or
Never.
anything? Really?
Never. When I tell you this man is perfect, people do not understand. This man is perfect. I'm so serious. I'm like, my gosh, like never tried to defend himself. He looked at me one day and he cried and he's like, why? And I'm like, I don't know, but he's like, I love you. I just want you to love me. And,
Wow. That must have hit deep too.
Oh,
Was that kind
God.
of a wake up call for you?
Yes. Yeah. That was a big wake up call.
Did you guys go through therapy or anything?
No.
Really?
No, my therapy was the Bible. When I tell you, I had to dig deep in my Bible, in my,
So was it, so for some people that, they don't understand the practicality of that. Like it can come across, I grew up non-denominational and it was very, it was unique.
Yeah.
My upbringing, but that's a whole other discussion. But there's a lot of, God healed me, God did this. But the practical part of, was it a particular Bible study? Was it a verse that just kept hitting at you? What was it that kind of began to heal the parts that were traumatized in you, but begin to allow you to be the woman for your husband that began to be more loving versus triggered?
You know, it wasn't a specific Bible verse. It was actually just a relationship that I was building with him through that devotional my friend sent me. And every time I'd pray specifically about something, I would open the devotional for that day, because it had like the date on there for the day, you know. And every time I'd open that darn devotional, it literally was speaking exactly about what I had prayed about.
So like you're on the back pew going, why are you talking to me right now?
Yes. Like
Yeah.
and when I tell you it was every day, it was every day. It was like I was literally having a conversation with God every day. It wasn't a specific Bible verse. It was just really building that relationship, because a lot of people talk about God and a lot of people know God, but not a lot of people really know who he is. And not a lot of people actually have a relationship with him.
That must have been almost scarily new for you.
No, well, yes and no, because I grew up with a mom who took us to church every day, and my mom had that crazy relationship with Christ. Yes. Like my mom really says she talks to God, like, you know, and
she might have a direct line. Who
yeah,
knows?
right? For real. And so it made me this angry person. Like I didn't want to know about God, because my mom was to me, she was so religious. Everything was about God. And so when I reached 18, I told her, deuces, I'm not going to your church anymore. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. And, you know, started doing my own thing, and it didn't get me anywhere. And so, the relationship with God, the personal relationship was new, but knowing about God wasn't, if that makes sense.
A lot. I, growing up the way that I did, I knew the Bible like the back of my hand. I knew every scripture. I could have a debate.
Yep.
I had a scripture to reference anything and everything. But the thing that I was missing was heart.
Yeah.
And when I was 17, 18, I did the double deuce. Because everything that I was being shown, I dealt with massive rejection at scale. And I remember I found cycling at 12, 13. And so my escape was cycling. That was my control mechanism. And I was brewing with such a level of rage from the fear of rejection, of course, is everybody's one of the elements of things that people deal with. I dealt with it a lot because of the abuse I dealt with my mother. The one person that I needed the most acceptance from, just the manic depressive bipolar abuse and verbal abuse and physical. And so now these people that were supposedly my best friends and this whole environment that I, you know, in high school, then just, and so I remember I was on this bike ride and I went out to this, talked about this the last with Charcy. And I said, I got in this middle of this pasture. It was a beautiful day too. Just, it was a postcard moment. And I remember just looking up and I had tears running my face. And I said, if this is you, fuck you.
Yeah.
I want nothing to do with you. And I screamed, I yelled, I just middle fingered as much as I possibly could to just let it out. And I went home and I packed up every Bible, every book, everything. And I, for about 8 years, nothing.
Wow. Well, you know, I can relate, because I always told my mom, because she was like, May, this is not the way, you know? And I told her, well, you know what? If your God was really all big and mighty and truly loved me, then why did I go through everything I went through as a child? And I was angry, you know, and it's hard. So I've been on both ends of, you know, having a relationship and not having a relationship.
Well, I think something that you and I have both, it's so funny, Charcy's gone through this. You experience religion first.
Yeah.
Religion is punishment and shame.
Yep.
A relationship is love and grace.
Yep.
Our model typically from religion is the sinner, the don't do wrong, the works, the knowledge. my kids can know everything they can know about me. But when you have a relationship with somebody, it's different.
Yep.
And the greatest analogy I heard was the difference between the two is religion is like getting into an accident in your car and you're like, shit, Dad's going to kill me. A relationship is when you get into an accident in your car, you're like, I need to call Dad because he's going to know exactly what to do.
Yes.
That's the biggest difference between the two. But you have to walk away from the first with the intent of walking away so that you can finally get underneath that shadow and finally be able to have this space to see what the relationship is really about.
Yep.
Because they can't coexist. You cannot have a real relationship while being underneath the law.
Yes.
Doesn't work. Because you're always feeling this sense of judgment, which is why I think Christians are some of the most judgmental people on the planet.
Yeah. Yeah.
As ironic as it is.
Yes.
Because they don't have a relationship.
Nope. A lot of it is religion.
They're wanting acceptance.
Yes.
They're not wanting a relation.
A lot of them want acceptance from the church and other Christians instead of wanting that acceptance from Christ. And then that's why it turns into religion and following all these laws and rules and not really a relationship with the one who matters.
It's because everybody's insecure.
Yes. Yep. I agree. I'm insecure.
So how do, coming through all this, and clearly you have just come through just a lot of just growth and this rebirth of May, right?
Yes.
And now you're in this, you and your husband have this beautifully fulfilling relationship.
Yes.
With so many scars. So I'll ask this, and where people on the outside go, you guys are so lucky to have each other in your marriage, when people don't know the context and all the things you've gone through. But for somebody that is in a relationship and now not going through abuse,
right?
Something you need to get out of.
Yeah.
But if you're dealing with conflict, because look, you're two different genders growing up in two completely different homes, now trying to go habitate and build a life together.
Yeah.
Life's hard enough.
It is.
But now if you're in a relationship and you're facing where you're not getting along, you're really, as you get to know this person, maybe it's not who you thought they were. And you're kind of feeling this sense of, I don't know if this is for me. It, again, nothing violent, abusive, things like that, but you kind of feeling empty, like you're floating.
I always say the grass isn't ever greener. I feel like a relationship, especially a marriage, when there is no abuse involved, it's a work. You got to work at it every day. I don't believe that people stay in love for the rest of their lives. I mean, I think that the people that do make it and the people that, do stay in love are the ones who work at it every day.
What do you and your husband do to work at it every day?
He's very physical. That's how you show.
That's his love language.
That's his love language. So I have to I make sure, and I love, being with my husband, but I make sure he's happy. And he makes sure that he does things for me that make me happy. For example, taking out the trash. I don't have to tell him to take out the trash. And I love it because he knows what I want and what I need from the relationship. And I know what he wants and what he needs from the relationship. You constantly have to stay in communication. You constantly have to, learn something new about each other. Like I'm always asking him, hey, is your favorite color still orange? And he'll say, oh no, actually now it's green, And so it's like, oh, well, that's good to know. You constantly have to learn about your spouse and what makes them happy, what's going on. And I feel like a lot of it is being selfless too, and not selfish, like just listening. I feel like we're so quick to talk and not listen. And I feel like that's very important in a relationship. We just, like I said, he's my best friend. He knows what I want, what I need. I know what he wants, what he needs. We nurture each other, and we just try to be the best parents we can be as well. It's crazy.
So I think on the practical front of being parents, being in a relationship together, but then you also have you. So how do you develop you when you're also growing a relationship with your husband and you're also growing as a parent? Where do you, or what do you do to help you?
This is funny because like I know I keep saying the Bible, but I listen to a sermon every day. I don't really watch shows, and if I do, I first did my devotional, and I worked on my online business because I have a business. But the way I work on myself, is honestly always receiving the word of God first. Because I feel like when I start my day that way, I can be the best person I know I can be. And when I don't, I do notice myself, like, I'm like, oh my gosh, oh wait, I'm acting like this because I didn't work on myself today, you know?
Do you have a routine?
I do.
What's your routine?
I do. So I wake up. I used to do the bed every single day, but here lately I haven't been, which I need to go back.
Get up?
My husband is.
Okay.
He's the first to get up.
What time do you wake up?
I wake up around 6.
Okay.
Which is pretty late for some people, actually. I'm like, what? Like, my husband wakes up at 4, and I'm
there
like,
we go. There we go.
He wakes up at 4. I'm really up all night with the baby.
But is that for his time?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And you know, another thing that really has helped us is he knows that I've always wanted a husband who followed God first, loved him first, and then loved me. And that was a struggle at first because he really wasn't raised in church, you know, and he tells me, he's like, man, I don't know how to really do this and how to develop a relationship because I really wasn't raised this way, you know? And, but he, every day on his way to work, he listens to a sermon to try to talk to me about, you know, hey, look what I learned today. Did you know this? And even though sometimes I do, I'm like, no, I didn't know. That's so cool. Like, you know, because it makes him feel good too. So I don't know. Oh man. Okay. So my routine, I wake up, I get the babies ready cause they're in school. And then, I make everyone breakfast. I drop everyone off at school. I come home, get myself ready, turn on a sermon, listen to a sermon for about an hour and a half sometimes. And then I do my business. And then I actually, people think I'm crazy, but I clean every day. I mop every day. Clean every day. We'll clean my bathrooms every day. It's very therapeutic for me. And my husband thinks I'm crazy, but, and that's really my routine.
It's control.
Yeah.
Keeping your house in order.
Yeah.
Because it's a reflection of you.
Yes. And my husband always says like, babe, like, I don't care. And I'm like, listen, I don't
but
care.
I do.
Yeah, I care. And, I've always,
you want me to be nice? Let me keep the house nice.
Right. Well, and another thing is I know he likes it.
Yeah. And
I really do enjoy having my husband come home every day to a meal. And, most of the time a balanced meal. Okay. Let's be honest right now with the baby and everything I have going on. It is a fresh, balanced meal.
Shameless plug, balancedfoods.com.
Yes. But he always comes home to a clean house, clean towels, clean everything. And I know his day was stressful. So I know that at least when he comes home, he can relax. And I enjoy that. I enjoy giving him that.
It's the adage, you know, relationships are not about what you can get, but what you can give.
Yes.
But we're in a time, it seems like, May, that that's been switched. It's about doing what makes you, this person doesn't make me happy. I'm going to do what makes me happy. And then you end up with this divide because now you're no longer working to earn each other's love and affection. So what do? You end up taking care of yourself So then, of course, your significant other is going to then become defensive and then close off and then go, well, if you're not going to take care of me, then I'm going to take care of me.
Yeah.
Then you have no relationship. Can you come back around from that?
I think you can. Because, I mean, like I said, I wasn't always like this, you know?
And there had to probably be a lot of forgiveness on your husband's part.
Yeah. And,
but even though he's seemingly a easygoing person with a lot of patience, he's still human.
Yeah, I know. But you honestly, you wouldn't think that, because he's never even made me feel guilty about one thing. And every time I'm like, man, like sometimes I'm not even kidding. Probably about a week ago, I was crying and he was like, why are you crying? Is something wrong? And I was like, yeah, like, I can't believe I did all of that to you. And he's like, babe, you're still thinking about that? You know, like, I don't care. And I'm like,
why were you thinking about it?
I just have so much guilt because I hate the person I was. I hate her. And,
what does guilt do to serve you though?
Right. Yeah. Nothing.
No, I'm legitimately asking.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe.
Do you revisit it often?
Not often, not anymore, but I used to. Yeah. Through my healing process, healing journey, I did visit those, memories a lot.
I'll say this, who you are today and then who you were then, is that the same May?
No.
Then you actually didn't do it. This May didn't do that.
Yeah.
That's the old May. This is the May you wanted to be. So today's May, what does today's May need to tell that May right now?
Oh, man.
If she was sitting right here, what would you tell her? The angry May, that's hurt May, the vengeful May, the scared May. What would you tell her?
I would say, you know, I understand, but I don't. I forgive you and I love you. We're way better than that and we will get through it.
What do you think she's begging to hear?
Honestly, I don't know. Sometimes I think just an I love you. And it wasn't your fault.
There you go. Every time that comes up, May, that's what you tell her right there.
Yeah.
You know what else I'd tell her? Thank you.
Thank you.
Because everything that she had to do with what little she knew to protect herself allowed this May to be here.
Yeah. That is very true.
Because this May wouldn't be this May without her.
Yeah.
But that's what she needs to hear from you.
Yeah.
When that comes up. We so often forget that we still, it was Dr. Laura LaPera, the holistic psychologist. I love her. She's practical. And that's, I don't like theory and ideology. I like practicality. And sometimes clinicians that are in mental health get a little bit too book for me. And I can't connect the dots. She speaks 6th grade for me, which I can understand that, right? And she said, we often forget how much we need to reparent ourselves. Because ultimately it all comes down to that 5 or 6-year-old.
Yeah.
That at the core is we became what we did because that's all that we know to do to process everything that we faced by people that had way more maturity than we did. So we collected, compiled, and added, whether it's narcissism, whether it's people pleasing, whether it's just being a hard ass, whatever behaviors we decided to adopt as a layer of protection. there has to come a point when you look at that in the mirror or that memory and go, thank you for doing everything that you knew how to do, because what you did allowed me to be me.
Yep.
Because when you can finally forgive yourself, that's the biggest piece of forgiveness.
Yes. Amen. That's true. Mm-hmm.
Deep shit.
Yeah. No lie. Yeah.
So let's talk about your business, because one of the things that I've always been so captivated by you, May, is because when we came to do the photos for the content that day, and like you have your domain set. Yeah. And when you talk about clean your house every day, you have an order.
Yes.
And I watched you when we were there that day for that brief time.
Yeah.
And it's like you're leading a symphony orchestra watching you in your home, because everything has a system for you.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And there's this flow.
Yeah.
Some people, it's like, trying to herd cats, but you have an organized flow within you about how that home is run. But as a wife, as your kids and your own routine, how do you then build a business and let alone grow a business like you have? Because and I forget the name of the company, but it's a multi-level that's focused on health and gut health specifically. Yep. Right. So let's talk about that. What is this?
Plexus.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a gut health company. And actually when right here, pink drink. That's why it's Let's Drink Pink. Let's Drink Pink. But I actually started not to share, because I told my sponsor, I was like, listen, she was trying to get me to share. And I was like, no, right now I'm not going to. I was already with another company and it really wasn't working out. And I was like, a bunch of scam. And I told her, I said, I'll try the product, because she's a friend. And I said, I'll support you and I'll try it one time. I didn't tell her I was going to try it one time, but I told myself I'll buy it this time and I'll cancel it real quick. And I was struggling with weight gain, hormones, just being imbalanced. I was miscarrying a lot. And I actually had a big miscarriage. I actually had to have a DNC before I got pregnant with my daughter. Wow. And I come to find out that almost every sister on my dad's side couldn't have kids, biological kids. Yeah. Wow. And so I was like just crying, and I was like, oh my gosh, at least I feel selfish because at least I have a kid already. I had Noah. But I've always wanted a big family. And so that was really hard for me. And so I just miscarried. And then I ended up pregnant with Layla. Had some difficulties. But I knew I wanted more after her. And I just couldn't. Every time I'd find out I was pregnant, and I'd go to the doctor, and then I would miscarry. Wow. Yeah, several times actually. And so it became very normal for me, to the point where it wasn't even emotional anymore. Like I was expecting it. So my friend said, we'll get on Plexus. Like Plexus has helped so many women get pregnant. And I was like, ugh, like here we go. A drink. It's actually a drink and other probiotics that come together. They work in conjunction with each other to, do what they need to do to heal the gut, weed all the unhealthy bacteria, and then feed the gut with all the healthy bacteria that it needs, because, it's our second brain. And that's one thing I learned, like, our brain tells our body what to do, but what tells our brain what to do?
Our gut.
Our gut.
I mean, 90% of our serotonin and 50% of our dopamine comes from our gut.
Yeah, exactly. And she was like, May, like, I don't think you really understand. And I was like, but it's a multi-level company. Like, I didn't feel the whole MLM, And I was like, I'm going to give it a try. So I did. Started losing weight, which my body did need. I went from having an overactive thyroid to a balanced thyroid. And then imbalanced hormones to having balanced hormones. And then...
Did you have your blood panel done before you started?
Yes.
I guess you had to just from.
Yes.
Okay.
I actually went to a, what do you call those plant doctors? Like a natural doctor.
Like a homeopathic.
Yeah.
No, is that what that is?
Yeah, but they have another word for them. I'll probably think of it whenever I leave.
Eastern medicine.
Right. But I had my blood work done, and she did a lot of things, and she was like, yeah, you're struggling with all of this. And I was like, I really didn't have any more hope. I was like, man, I'm only 25. Like, why am I dealing with all of this, you know? So I did end up trying this pink drink because it was my last resort. And 3 months later, without even trying, we got pregnant with our third.
3 months later.
3 month later.
Were you drinking it every day?
Every day. Every day.
Really?
And
is it just one bottle a day?
It's one bottle a day, and 2-3 pills a day. Like you take your probiotic and this other like detox cleanse that comes with it. It's in a pill form, or I say pill, but it's a capsule, so you can actually break it and put it in your drink for people who don't like to swallow pills. And so I did that every single day. And honestly, I wasn't even worried about getting pregnant anymore. I was like, maybe that's just, I'm good with 2 kids. I was getting fit. I was spinning almost every day. And I was getting pretty fit, and then boom, I'm pregnant. And I'm like, wait, what? I was like, this is not possible. So I go to the doctor. I was like about 8 weeks pregnant, and they're like, oh, you're miscarrying. And I was like, oh, well, it's normal for me. I've had this before, And what's funny is my mom was like, no, May, you're not. I don't care what that doctor says. You're not. You're going to go get a second opinion. So I go get a second opinion. Yeah, she knew again, And then they're like, oh, there is a pretty healthy baby here with a very strong heartbeat. Wow. And now we have Matthew.
Wow.
Yeah. So now we have Matthew. And ever since I was like, I told my friend, I am sharing these products because not only have they helped me with what I thought I just needed, weight loss, they've helped me with my hormones, with my blood sugar levels, with my thyroid, with getting pregnant. And actually 2 friends of mine, who got on it to get pregnant are actually have babies now.
So is it specifically designed for women?
No. I mean, you have a gut.
Well,
anyone who has a gut.
Yeah.
Yep. Men do it. We have doctors on our team. We have nurse practitioners. We have pilots. We have literally very educated people on our team taking these drinks and actually also sharing.
Why do you think that we're dealing with, because there seems to be a lot of more awareness on gut health, but why do you think we're dealing with so many issues now? Because I remember when, being gluten sensitive wasn't really a thing, and having gluten-free foods was like one little section of like some cardboard crackers and, some really dry, almost crouton bread. But now it's everywhere. Yeah. Right. What is the condition called? The medical term for it? When you have a gluten sensitivity?
Gluten intolerance.
What is it?
I don't know.
Does it start with an S?
Oh
my gosh. Anyway, but it seems to be a lot more prevalent in just food allergies in general. But definitely as our foods have become more processed, just looking at the historical trend of even men's testosterone over the past 45 years has nearly dropped 50% across the board for all men at all ages. Their test levels have dropped 50%.
Yeah. And even like now, people think they're buying organic, and a lot of the times you're actually
just marketing.
Yeah. Yeah.
People like me ruined it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Marketing ruins everything.
Yeah.
Because the standards are so minimal to be able to get that classification. Change one ingredient, remove this or that.
Yep.
And you can call it organic or, and you have to kind of read between the lines.
Well, it's like with skincare. I went to UCLA for this ingredients and the science behind ingredients on your skin and all of that. And they can label a lot of the things that women buy that say natural are not actually natural. Everything is a chemical, and everything has a chemical in it nowadays. Water is a chemical, you know? But yeah, a lot of people think they're buying natural or they're buying organic. And it's like, no, it's just really the way that they label their ingredients in certain things that they can actually say, this is natural, this is organic, when it actually really isn't.
You know, in Australia, this is not allowed in the United States, thank God, which a lot of weird things are allowed to where it is not allowed in Europe. What we allow in our food is insane. It's truly ridiculous. But butchers and meat packers. So your prime pieces, cuts of steak, going to be your most tender, your juiciest, different parts of the animal. But then when you're butchering all this, you have all this leftover, right? What they found is they'll take all these bits, they'll trim it all up and put it into a bowl and then add, it's called meat glue.
What?
This is the weirdest stuff ever. And they mix it in. They have to be completely nuke suited up, ventilator and everything to be able to add it. And they stir it up into the meat and then they roll it out onto some like clear wrap, roll it together, let it sit for 6 hours. They unroll it, then they can slice it like a steak and they'll cook it and you cannot tell the difference.
What? And this is in Australia?
Australia.
Wow.
What it is, though, it's a derivative of removing the hemoglobin from the blood of several animals, not just cattle, that they use in this meat glue.
Wow.
It's this white powder, looks like flour.
Wow.
But when it is added to the meat and it's allowed to sit and activate for 6 hours, it causes everything to adhere and kind of bond. And when you cook, you can't tell. Like it'll cut like a regular steak and everything. But when it's still raw, if you try to pull it apart, you'll notice the bits of how it's coming apart.
Wow.
So in an effort to maximize profits per animal that's butchered and all this waste, they're finding ways to, it's like bologna.
Yeah.
Hot dogs.
Yes.
Right. Chicken nuggets or not chicken nuggets from McDonald's, right? The ammonia that they put in
Taco Bell. Do we need to talk about Taco Bell?
That ground meat.
Yeah.
If you need a colon cleanse, go to Taco Bell.
Yeah.
My kids we even talk about that. But just even white tortillas are shortening in flour.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Just everything that we're eating now, because to meet the demand of mass production, and because we no longer grow our own food, it used to be 4% of the population were the farmers that fed the other 96%, right? Now it's down to about 1.5 to 2%.
Yeah.
Because it's all mass produced, processed. I mean, they're injecting saline water into chicken breasts so that they're bigger, right?
Yep.
All these things at the sake of our growing population. But the problem is all these chemicals, all the additives are causing, our skin, what's in our air, our skin's the largest organ on our human body.
Yep.
But then our gut and the length and size of what our gut is and what all these little receptors are inside of our gut that moves food along, but also are the little guys that suck everything out of the food.
Yep.
But then what causes this compacted bowel? You talk about these cleanses and alcohol is a huge contributing factor.
Yes.
And there was this one study that I was reading about gut health. This was many, many years ago. Elvis, when he died, the report read that when they did the autopsy, they found 37 pounds of compacted bowel inside of his gut.
Oh, wow.
Which is why a lot of the guys that drink a lot, they get these distended but hard bellies.
Yes.
It's not blubber. It's compacted bowel that the longer it sits, it's toxic.
Yeah.
So it creates the hormonal imbalances. It creates the chemical imbalances. It creates the aging skin, the loss of hair, the impotence, just the myriad of the domino effect of all of this. When, like you said, it all starts.
Yep.
So what else have you done? Did you just do this and then you weren't really eating healthy?
Honestly, I was doing juice cleanses and I was trying to eat healthy, but nothing was working. So then I started incorporating this into my routine And that's when I noticed everything started changing. So I actually had a gluten intolerance. And every time I had gluten, I would have flare-ups, and it was just bad. But actually, this also healed that. Like now I can have gluten and I don't have flare-ups. But yeah, no, I just started drinking this little pink drink and taking my probiotics every day and the BioCleanse, which is what weeds out, the bad bacteria. And that's what I do. And we have protein shakes, we have greens, we have collagen, which is very important for the skin, your hair, your nails. We have gut stuff for kids. For kids, they have their own little pink drink. It's actually an orange drink. We have energy drinks. Yeah, we have it all, and it's all plant-based.
So you did the product for 3 months, right? You get pregnant.
Yep.
At what point did you go, I want to do this as a business?
Actually, right before I got pregnant, because I started losing the weight that I wanted to lose, and nothing else helped. No matter how much I worked out, no matter how much I ate healthy, like I would notice little results, but not like something like major when I was like working out like hard and eating healthy, counting macros. And I was like, man, but that's when I went to my doctor, and she was like, you just have other things going on in your body that you need to heal, inflammation, which is one of the biggest, it's a silent killer.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know everything pretty much starts with inflammation. And so I was like, man. And so my friend reached out, and I was like, I'll give it a try because, it's my last resort and I'm only 25. So something's got to give. And here I am 2.5 years later, and I'm still drinking my pink drink. Yeah. I drank it while I was pregnant because I took it to my doctor, and I was like, this is what I take. Can I continue to take this? And she was like, actually, I take it myself. Yes. Yeah.
Really?
So
wow.
I took it, and all of my labs came back like great. Everything was great, which I've never had a lab like that pregnant. There was always something wrong. And like she was impressed. She was like, oh my gosh, everything was like, great. You're good to go. It's like, great. And so I stopped taking it for a little while because I was breastfeeding, and,
was it not advised if you were breastfeeding?
No, you can take it, but it was just, I would forget. I had so much going on. I would forget to grab my drink, or would forget to like take my pills. And then I started feeling like sick again and very like sluggish, and I didn't have energy. And I was like, oh my gosh. And my friend was like, take your pink drink. So I started taking my pink drink, and I started feeling like myself again. And now I've been working out for the past 2 months, been like having lots of energy again. My skin's getting better again. My hair is growing. Like,
you posted a photo. It was a side profile.
Yeah.
Just of your stomach.
Oh, yeah.
But it was like, what was it, like a 30-day or a 60-day or something?
Yeah.
It was a dramatic difference.
It was 8 weeks. 8 weeks. Which is, I know. And a lot of people are like, no, there's no way that's 8 weeks. And I'm like, oh yeah, I can show you the timestamp.
Was it just from a lot of internal inflammation and bloating?
Oh yeah. A lot of people think that they have to lose a lot of weight when really you just have to lose a lot of inflammation.
Interesting.
Yeah. You have to lose a lot of inflammation, and people confuse inflammation with weight gain. And it's like, no, you need to target your inflammation first, and then everything else will follow.
So how does the business work for you?
Honestly, so I message people, obviously to grow my business, but my testimony alone is really what has grown my business. About 99% of the people that are on my team or people I have signed up are strangers on Instagram. Never met them, but they see my story. They see what I've gone through. And just because I'm genuine about what I mean, this is what I take. And, I'm not going to tell you to take something I don't take.
Sure.
I've never liked that. And I hate when people do that. Like, if you're going to sell something, you have to be genuine about it. You have to take it yourself, and yeah, I've actually been at the top of my company with like top earner, and our team has been like.
Have you really?
Mm-hmm.
I knew you were like pretty good at it, but no kidding.
And of course there are a lot of setbacks, you know. There's just ups and downs with any business, and I've had those downs for sure.
When did you first go, oh, I can actually make serious money with this? How long did that take for you?
A month.
What?
My first month I made, I think, almost over $4,000.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Like in your pocket?
Yes, in my pocket.
Get out.
And I can even show you. Yes, I can go back and show you to like.
Were you shocked?
Yes, I messaged my sponsor and I said, is this correct? I don't want to go to jail because I used this money and they accidentally sent it. And she was like, no, friend, like that's yours. And it all started with just sharing my testimony. And now I tell some of my girls, I'm like, don't wait to share because you may need it for weight loss, or you may need it for, you know, blood sugar levels, but other people may need it for depression or anxiety, which is in your gut. If you struggle with a lot of depression, I say it's spiritually too, a lot of spiritual things going on there. But like you said, serotonin, it's in your gut, most of it,
90%.
you know? Yeah. And a lot of people don't know that. And a lot of people struggle in silence and they don't talk about it, and then they don't get the help they need and don't realize that if you just heal your pretty little gut, you can heal a lot of things.
One of my morning rituals, because I have a handful that I've just started to build over the years, is it's been medically proven that if you get sunlight within the first 10 to 20 minutes of your day, just sit, just outside, the receptors in your eyes have to be able to see that light. It will, because the moment your eyes wake up, your body immediately, it is at its highest point of cortisol, your stress hormone.
Yes.
And the way the body and the mind works, because your body is your unconscious mind,
Yes.
that it is going to align itself with whatever is in control. So if it's stress hormone, that's why you're going to wake up and you're going to be uptight. You're going to have a racing heart rate, and you're going to begin to connect with every thought that's either current or in your past that aids and abates that current response in your body.
Yep.
So to counteract that, if you get 10 to 20 minutes of sunlight, it actually increases your serotonin level that it combats it.
Wow.
Just
I
from
actually didn't
sunlight.
know that. Wow.
But if you look at, if you're dealing with significant gut issues, you're not going to get the significant flux of that than if you get your gut healthy.
Yep.
So there's a lot of things at play that we can actually do on our own without medicine. If you just look at what you really need, what really moves the needle, which is why I'm fascinated by this.
Yeah.
Because I watch your stuff.
Yeah. And I'm sure you've seen, because you messaged me before I really decided to start the pink drink. And I remember I was not in a good place. And then, you know, we didn't talk for a while. And then finally I decided, okay, I really want to change. And that's when we reconnected. And I'm sure you've seen like the changes that have gone on in my life since starting this pink drink, you know?
Because one of the things about your story that really got me, it's like May just kind of like hooked.
Yeah.
Right? Because I love people that have stories of they just faced real shit, you know? And you would hit kind of an emotional, because you married, kids, and you still felt like your life was spinning out of control. And that was kind of around, not at that time, but it was somewhere around there. And the thing that I've just noticed is we all go through cycles. We go through seasons in life, and sometimes we try to hurry it too quick to get through it when we need to sit in it. But what I've watched you do is you allow yourself to go through these seasons. And we even talked about like your blog, that you had like 20,000 people with your blog.
Yeah.
And you just stopped writing.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't anything that you felt was worthy of writing about because of some things that you were going through in your personal life.
Yes.
And rather than try to pander attention, you're like, no, I don't need it. Right?
Yep.
Yeah, you could look back and go, I really should have kept that going. But I think that proves your authenticity because you're not in it for a numbers game. You're not in it for likes and follows. You're in it because you actually like it.
Yeah.
But the thing that I've noticed about you, May, and just hearing your story is You know, I have two statements that I've had in my life for a long time. One is own your shit.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is fix your shit.
Yeah.
Because nobody else can fix it.
Mm-hmm.
You have just continually just stated that when you come to these moments of just overwhelming odds
Mm-hmm.
and things that are just coming against you, or things that had come against you and they're trying to rear their ugly face, is you find ways that you can pull yourself out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And the one of the greatest ways that you can tell about where somebody is in their journey is how they refer to their journey. And it's people don't it's not intentional. It's not like people try to hide it. But the thing that I've noticed about you is you never complain about where you are.
Mm.
You talk about it in a way that you're just grateful that you're where you are.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people complain.
Mm-hmm.
They defer. They're always a victim to something. And you have every reason to use the victim card. But through your own healing and your own forgiveness and through your walk, you refer to everything as what you're coming out of, not what you're going through. That little shift of perspective always tells me where somebody is in life.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that shit's easy for you by any stretch, but you face it all the time. And you always got this big smile on your face. Now, given because you don't want to like air your dirt all the time. Nobody wants to do that. But when you share your story, like it's incredibly inspiring, May.
Thank you.
Of how you approach things that are hard.
Thank you.
Because you've had to face a lot of hard things about yourself.
Yeah.
So life's hard enough and a lot of hard things from people, but just the things we do to ourselves that we sometimes don't realize, but you realize some things.
I do. I realize a lot, but like I told you, I feel like that's always the first step to really heal and grow. You got to realize those things.
Did you ever have a hard time saying I'm sorry?
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, I did. Another thing is I didn't like showing emotion either. Like I was always this hard ass, you know?
Really?
Yes. Because I didn't want people to see me.
I totally can't see that version of you either.
I didn't want
I can see fire, but I can't see like this.
No,
wow,
I've
that's
never
amazing.
been emotional. Actually, lately I have been. I've been more emotional and more showing my feelings. And my husband actually says he appreciates that. He's like, I love that. I love that you show me you care. Because even though I cared in the past, I would show as if I didn't. Because I always viewed showing emotion as a weakness. And I think obviously that stems from my past, being a child. And yeah. And so I had to be the strong person, you know, and seeing my mom work day in, day out. And, you know, she was barely home. I actually pretty much raised my little sister. I would come home from first grade, second grade, third grade. I would cook. Crazy, because I'm like, I can't see my third grader or even Layla cooking. Like, no, we're not gonna ever let that happen. But yeah, I would cook. I would clean the house. I'd get her ready for bed. And I remember I would always sit by the phone just wanting to call my mom. It was hard. It was really, really hard. Oh man. But I never wanted to show emotion. And I think I always tried to stay strong for my mom. And that's when it started. I felt like if I cried in front of my mom as a kid, I knew it would be harder for her to go to work. And I knew she had to. But it's just crazy that at 5-6 years old, I understood that. You know, I feel like I had to grow up pretty quick. And for a while, I didn't show emotion. I felt it was a weakness. And I didn't like that my husband showed emotion because I felt like that was a weakness. And I thought I was making him into this, like, you know, strong person, like, don't show emotion. Thank God he never changed. Thank God. But yeah, now I feel like showing emotion is a strength. I do. I don't see it as a weakness anymore. I actually think that not showing emotion is just being cowardly. I was a coward.
How does that translate into your friendships? Do you have a lot of friends, or are you very...
I have a lot of, I guess, surface friends. I have a lot of friends and people that I really do love. And I feel like I would do anything for any of my friends, even if it's just like a surface friend, you know? But people that I actually share things like this and open up to and that have seen me cry, only two. Only two. One of them is my sister-in-law, and the other one is my best friend. And but that's it. And other than my husband, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, all of my other friends, I don't, like I said, I don't ever want pity. And I don't know.
Are you able to share your story? And do you still feel like, or do you ever question, does this come across as you're looking for pity?
I actually have shared my story with people that have needed to hear my story. Friends who have gone through things that I went through or my husband went through in our marriage. But not very many people. And the only reason why I do share it with those people is because they've needed it.
Right.
But I don't actually go out of my way to, well, this is what happened to me, or, you know, this, I don't. And I feel like when time...
People don't know how to process that when they hear it, because that's a lot.
Yeah, it is. And I can tell when I tell those people that really need to hear it, they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, that's why if I can make it through it and my husband made it through it, y'all can too. Y'all can too. And so...
Does a lot of that kind of bleed into with your team and your business?
Like in what way?
The emotional side. So not being so... Because when you become really binary in life, and then when you start to deal with... Because, working within an MLM, you have to really... A lot of the work is keeping your team hyped and connected and keeping them involved. Because if people aren't involved, they're going to lose touch, and then they lose momentum, and they lose purpose and reason. There's a whole lot of that, which a lot of people do MLMs and they don't do well with it. No,
they don't, because one, they give up too fast. And people don't actually want to work anymore, like for things that, that they just want it yesterday. And you have to realize that when you're running a business, it's not going to happen overnight. And there's going to be a lot of ups, but there's going to be a lot more downs.
There are a lot of MLMs, especially in the health space over the years, that, they always promote and hype the gold medal. Like financial independence, and do the cruise, and look at our successful diamonds. And like they have all these, and they sell the dream, but they're never really forthcoming about the struggle to get to the dream. Right. And so that's where I've always been turned off by MLMs because of that. Because it's, pay your $400 and get started, and then you got to get plugged in, and they do all the conferences, and they do all this, but it's like any business. Yes, anybody can, doesn't mean you should, but for those that do well at it, and even for you, there are a lot of people that are introverts that they get into too much of the hype, and they could probably do well. Yeah. But you need good coaching. You do. And you have to realize that it's people over what you're selling them. You have to care about people first, and then your business, pretty much. So when people get into, like, let's say Plexus, or for context, they've heard the hype, they've heard the dream, they've even maybe had their own personal experience, but how can they be successful at it as a business? Because you've done this, you've grown this thing. Yeah. I mean, it's tough because it does take a lot of work. Are you self-driven? Yes, and that's what I was going to say. When it comes to MLM
companies and people who join is because they want their own business, right? And I always tell my team, you can't wait for me to constantly motivate you to do the stuff you need to do. Your business. You joined because you don't want a boss. You want your business. If you don't want a boss, then you shouldn't wait for me to tell you what to do every day. You have to motivate yourself to do it. And of course, like, I hate motivation. I hate that because, you know, we're not motivated to do things every day. It's that consistency that keeps you going. And I do try to like talk to my team, and we do connect. And actually, like I said, I've been working on showing my feelings, you know, and it feels good. And my
that's
team,
what I was asking. Like, if you've allowed that to bleed into this.
Yes. I actually talk to my girls about a lot of things. Like, they're my friends. We're a family, and we share a lot of things. And you know, it's beautiful because it's not just about the business. We're actually connecting. We're actually building relationships, and I feel like that's why you get a successful business. And like I said, there are downs, you know, it's not always pretty and, you know, glamorous and, you know, getting all the bonuses and all of that. You constantly have to work and pull yourself out of hard times. And I've had to do that multiple times. I'm actually pulling myself out of one right now, you know, and it's been hard. It's been a struggle, but I'm doing it, you know, but I'm motivated, self-motivated, I guess I should say. I don't wait for my sponsor to tell me what to do.
Right.
I know what I need to do because I want this. I want this for my kids, and my husband makes great money. But I also want it for him, you know, because eventually I want him to be home with us. And I've seen how a lot of my friends, they're now my friends, who have made it to the top by being consistent. My diamond sponsor, actually, she was a single mom, broke. She couldn't even feed her kids. I believe she said she actually had to take food from the daycare she used to work out to bring it to her kids. She didn't have money to get her business started, but she ended up buying her welcome pack with her credit card, and she went all in, and she didn't let anything stop her, not hard times. And now she makes over $30,000, actually well over that, a month. And we've seen it. So we know, and I've seen it personally with my paychecks. Like, I'm like, whoa, like it's crazy.
What's your biggest paycheck you've gotten for a month?
My biggest paycheck, about $10,000.
Fat.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Off a drink.
And it, like, when I tell you that Plexus loves to give bonuses, just for doing what you're supposed to do to grow your business and live the dream you want to live, they give some big bonuses. And they pretty much do it almost every month. If you're just doing what you're supposed to be doing, just like with any other business, if you're a business owner, you got to work. You got to work. You can't wait for people to tell you what to do. And you can't, you have to be self-driven and do it and believe that you can do it. And people just give up too easy. They give up too fast.
What have you learned about building your own business that has been kind of eye-opening for you? Was it like the tax part of a business, tax benefits? Was it just the freedom? Was it watching the revenue come in?
Because
you don't have to handle inventory either.
No.
Like, it's all order online. It's all fulfilled from mothership and the whole thing, right? So you're literally the promotion end of the company.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gosh, a lot of things. Really, honestly, the fact that I can be a stay-at-home mom and do this and actually
make a beyond full-time income.
Yeah. And it makes me feel powerful, I guess I should say, because, my husband's still the breadwinner and has always been ever since I got with him. And, he found out I was pregnant. He took care of me. Always has. But it feels good to be able to say, hey, babe, I got that. Like, let me get it. Let me pull out my Plexus credit card. Hold on. I got that.
Is it pink?
No, it's red. I wish my Venmo card is pink. But honestly, just the fact that I can do it from anywhere. I was making a video yelling at my kids yesterday, actually. I was like, y'all, please be quiet. I'm about to make a video for my business. Once I'm done, about 2 minutes, y'all can do whatever you want. The minute I start the video, my kids are like, he hit me. No, she hit me, and start crying. And I'm like, be quiet. When I get off this video, oh wait, I can't say it on video. But y'all will see, but honestly.
And you kept that in your video?
I kept that in my video because guess what?
That's life.
That's life.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's life. And that's what you get to do when you have your own business. You do it when you want to, wherever you want to, how you want to, and no one gets to tell you what to do. Money
gives you power. Mm-hmm. Money's been demonized for far too long, even within the church.
Yeah.
And they leverage the scripture, the love of money is the root of all evil. Okay, well, I don't love money, but I need money. And it's not because I need money because I need to survive. I need money because of the shit I want to do with it.
Yeah, the freedom.
There is power, and I want as much money as possible. Because when you wake up and you don't have to sweat rent, when you can wake up and you can eat whatever it is that you want, when you can wake up and go start your car and not worry that it's going to start, when you can wake up and then go take a friend to dinner, when you can wake up and maybe go, you have a friend who's struggling and you pay their rent, money gives you power.
Yeah.
Power of peace, power to do and not survive.
Yep.
You cannot thrive while you're surviving.
No.
And I think that's where people do not allow themselves to enjoy making money.
Yeah.
I mean, having a check that was 10 grand, that's insane.
Yeah.
That you're not clocking in, you don't have you're not an attorney, you're not some, educated profession, you're selling a pink drink.
I'm just an esthetician who doesn't do what she went to school for anymore, selling a pink drink. Yep.
But it requires an immense amount of discipline.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It sure does. And it really makes you learn a lot of things about yourself too, that you're like, oh crap. Like
what's something you've learned?
One thing I've learned is, what is one thing I've learned? I've learned a lot of things, but one thing that I've learned, having a business is,
And is this like a May Adams LLC kind of thing that you have to set up as a business? Just a solopreneur?
Yeah. But I do have like my Let's String Pink, and it's become like pretty much everything, like my brand. And so I do own that. But it just shows you how easy you're willing to give up. That's one thing it's shown me. How easy, when I was going through the struggle of building it and, losing people, one, I had to realize I really wasn't connecting with people. And then two,
was that kind of the hard ass part of you of like going, well, you got to want it.
Yes. You got to want it and do it. But now I do nurture my girls, but also I want them to spread their wings on their own and fly. You can't hold people's hand all the time because then they don't want to fly. They're too scared to do it. And then that's when they start growing, like giving them that confidence. You got to nurture them to that confidence of like, oh, I can do this, and just another thing I learned is like how easy I was willing to like give up when things got hard. But it goes back to, just not wanting to deal with the hard stuff. And
so it helped you.
It did because I was like, no, I'm not giving up. I'm going to do this, and I don't care how hard it is or how hard I have to climb back up. I'm going to do it. And we've been doing it.
Was there like a particular beacon or an example or mentor or some example that you had come across that was kind of your reminder when you wanted to tap out that you would always kind of refer to?
Not really.
There was just that internal.
Yeah, it was just that internal. And honestly, my little girl, she always says, Mommy, gosh, I'm so proud of you. I want to be a plexus girl just like you. And so I always think of that when I'm ready to like be like, oh, I'm done. It's like I hear her little voice. I want to be a plexus girl like mommy, you know? And she'll ask me, well, mommy, give daddy your red card, because it's my red card. And when daddy says no, which is rare, she's like, well, mommy's got a red card. And she knows it's my plexus card, you know? But it motivates me to keep going. My children do, because I'm like, wow, they see like mommy's at home and mommy's making money, you know? And it's just showing them that you can do whatever you want to do. And it doesn't matter where you're doing it, how you're doing it, but, well, I guess it does matter sometimes, right? It just giving them that example. Like, I'm a mom, and I'm still bringing money in, you know? I don't know, for my daughter at least.
It certainly gives you an air of confidence that, again, power, right? Generating your own wealth from your own effort, your own momentum, your own idea, and leaning into something that you believe in. Because I do one thing that I believe is absolutely factual when it becomes parents, and one of the greatest disservices, damn near neglect, that we could do to our kids, is to not show them what's possible by watching what we do. The parent that says you can reach for the stars and be all you can be, and if they're punching if they're punching a minimum wage 9 to 5, and they're not showing their kids by example that it can be done, then you're showing your kids a standard so low that's as high as they will go. It will have to be an earth-shattering moment for a child to be shown what's possible from such a low standard environment.
It's funny you say that, because actually my son, this was about a couple of months ago, I was crying because of something that was going on in my business, and I was like, oh my gosh, you know? And my husband was like, babe, like, you're crying over, like, I mean, I know for you it's big, but like, you've done it before, you can do it, you know? And Noah walked in and he was like, Mom, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm okay, baby. And he's like, I kind of heard you and daddy talk. And he's like, I'm so sorry. Like, you know, because he gets in trouble when he tries to listen. And he's like, but is it about your business? And I'm like, yes, baby, it is, you know. And I was like, but it's going to be okay. And he's like, well, remember, you always tell us you can do anything through Christ who gives you strength. And he's like, you always tell us that, so it means you can do it too. And I'm like, oh, shoot, yes. So my husband laughs, because my kids actually teach me a lot. And he's like, when you're parenting, backfires. And I'm like,
God, they watch.
Oh, yeah, they do. And so my son, he's like, you can do it. You tell us we can. You can do it too, Mom. You're smart. You're awesome. You can do it. I'm like, dang, they're right, you know?
There's a statement I've had for a long time. Actions are the separator, right?
Yes.
Because people talk a lot.
Yeah.
Which is why a lot of people need motivation. But actions, you master what you repeat. If you're always quitting when it gets hard, you master that.
Yep, that's true.
But if you continually lean in when it gets hard, you master leaning in. You master the ability to follow through.
Yep.
Right? There is I'm asked sometimes, MD, what motivates you? It's not my kids. I love my kids, but they don't motivate me. The pitfalls I've had in my life, the countless failures, the handful of successes, the setbacks, the pains, the second guessing, the doubting, the imposter syndrome, off the charts. I always think back to the moment when I die. And my greatest fear, and ultimately what drives me, is that when I meet who I was destined to be, and we're total strangers.
Wow.
Because I want to be identical twins. But to do that, I've got to get up every day and do my routine.
Yep.
I've got to get up every day, and when shit gets hard, I got to lean in.
Yep.
When I face overwhelming obstacles and odds, I got to look at that as my moment.
Yep.
There was a picture a friend of mine took of me in the sauna years ago when I was bodybuilding. I was freaking swole. It was stupid. But it was really cool to have that moment, because at that time when I was going through some really heavy things in my personal life, and my journal is comprised of statements I've written to myself, just not, this day was hard or anything like that. It's just narratives I have to keep telling myself. And it said, your greatest strength, or your strength only shows its face at the moment of giving up. That's when strength is revealed. That's when love is revealed. When you don't feel like you're in a lovable moment, but you love anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, with that tattoo that I've got down my spine came from, I had no hope.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is it. Like I'm about to be dirt, Yeah. And that quote has been that thing of resolve. That, because every time I feel like something is really overwhelming, really hard, I don't know how I can get through this. I think about when I die. Because I don't want to be a complete stranger. Yeah. And that version of me that I'm destined to be goes, I don't know you.
Wow. Yeah, that's deep.
And you're only going to get there. I'm only going to get there. Whoever's listening is only going to get there because you have today. That's it.
Yep, that's right.
That is it.
Yep.
To be one day closer, one step closer.
Yep.
The whole premise of this show is the 35,000 decisions we make a day as adults. Depending on your study that you read. But those decisions, you can't just change your decisions though. Right? You had to go back and look at what you felt you were capable of.
Yeah.
But I think when you come back to it really comes back down to the very core of who we are, and that's our focus.
Yep.
Because if you focused on all that happened to you, you would not be where you are today.
Nope, that's right.
But if you change your focus to the things that you ultimately want to become, want to grasp, want to create, call it quantum, materialization, visualization, whatever you want to call it, comes down to thoughts. Yeah. Or it comes down to our focus, because that focus creates the thought. That thought turns into what we believe we're capable of or not. Yeah. Which turns into a decision. Yep. And that decision then has an action. That action then has an outcome. If your focus is correct, then your outcomes are reinforced, and that's what you begin to master. Yep. Right? So when people in anything they're doing, they're not getting the outcomes they want, you don't Band-Aid the one step behind it. You don't change what you're doing. Right. You don't even change your choices. You change where you're if your focus is always on your past, or you're focusing always on the negative. And what's fascinating is we average about 65 to 80,000 thoughts a day. 80% are rooted in a negative experience. 80%.
Wow, that's a lot.
And because cortisol is one of the biggest drivers, which is our protective hormone, our stress hormone, fight or flight, that if we don't control our focus, when our brain begins to wander this direction, but if we don't get it back to where we are, we're not going to end up becoming who we ultimately feel as though we want to become.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
In your home life, in your career as a mom and as a woman, where you are today, and you even said like still one of your biggest struggles is self-esteem. What do you do on a daily basis to help yourself not allow the self-esteem to be the crutch or the thing that pulls you down, but the thing that you actually have turned into something that you can help? Because when we all face it every day, but how do you overcome that?
Me personally, I see my daughter. I noticed that whenever I'm dealing with self-esteem issues, I can be talking about it out loud and I don't realize it. And I've caught her doing the same thing. Ooh. So
it's a reflection.
Yeah.
It's like,
Oh yeah. And that hit me hard. And I was like, oh, I can't do that.
Yeah.
So every time I'm dealing with something, I'm like, would I want Layla to feel that way?
Mm.
Would I want Layla to think that about herself? And so I start talking to myself in a positive way, and I start telling myself good things. And I'm like, I want to tell myself what I want Layla to know about herself. But yeah, when I tell you my kids really teach me how to live life, they really do. They've taught me my greatest lessons too. And having a daughter changes everything. As a woman, it changes everything, because you're like, I used to say I'm fat, or oh, I don't want to eat that because I'm, and she would say, oh, I'm getting fat. And I'm like, oh, no, we're not going to do that. And so now whenever I sit down and she's like, mommy, like, she'll point out my rolls sometimes. And I'm like, they're beautiful. And Noah points out my stretch marks sometimes. And he's like, but mommy, because I've said this, I'm like, but they are beautiful, because guess what? That means I had y'all, And so now Noah looks at me and he's like, Mom, I love your stretch marks because I was in there. He's like, I was the first, right? So they've taught me how to talk to myself. And yeah, just.
Because it's not going to fix itself.
No. You got to fix it.
I think that's why people get stuck.
Yep.
They think time in and of itself is going to fix that bad habit that we get stuck in, that loop.
Yeah. And that's funny you say that, because I tell my team, no one's ever stuck. Mm-hmm. You're never stuck. You're just choosing to stay where you are, but you're not stuck.
You're focusing on the wrong things.
You're focusing on the wrong things. Exactly. Mm-hmm.
It's like, have you ever been hunting? Have you ever shot a gun?
Yeah, I've shot a gun. I've never shot something, but I've been hunting once.
You look through the scope and you got those crosshairs, right? Well, you squint one eye, looking through the scope. Why is that? So you're not distracted by something else over here, so you can remain focused.
I didn't know that.
But when you're looking through the scope, if the object you want to shoot is over here on your left, and you have your scope way far on the right, you're not going to be able to reach your target. You got to align your ultimate where you want to go with where your crosshairs are. That's your focus.
Yeah.
Because then everything else from where your scope is, that barrel to your target, that's the journey.
Wow.
But if your focus is off, you will not end up where you want to go.
Exactly. Yep.
I remember I learned that as a triathlete. I was doing open water races. And if I did not learn how to do in training, how to master the navigation stroke, you'll end up 500 yards off course 3 times the distance in the water.
Wow.
Because you got picked off by the current because you were not stroking to look at where the buoy was.
Dang.
And if your focus was on the wrong thing, like the swimmer in front of me, and I'm just staying in his bubble, and I'm assuming he's navigating and he's not, now we both end up off course.
Yeah.
That's why your circle's so important.
Yes, very. And then also comparison. Gosh,
Huge.
Comparing yourself constantly. I tell my girls, because sometimes they compare themselves to other people and they think, and it's like, never do that, because we're all on our own journey. You have your own testimony. And I tell them that almost every day. Don't compare yourself, because what you are going to testify about, they're not. So you have to focus on you. You got to focus on Danny. You got to focus on Rachel. Don't focus on anyone else but yourself. So I think that's a big thing.
I think probably because people think that if they're not further along, then who are they?
Or they feel like, well, I started first and she started way after me, but now she's way ahead of me. And it's like, you can't look at it that way. You can't compare. Comparison really kills a person.
Because you don't know what's going on behind the scenes.
Exactly.
It's like social media.
It's the pretty reel.
Everybody
it's
projects what they want the world to perceive them as, right?
Yep.
It's optics.
Yes.
It's a facade. Now, given I'm not going to air all my dirty laundry of things that I'm going through either. But when you project this perfect relationship, perfect life, you're happy every day, The thing that I think most people really struggle with is you're not meant to be 100% full throttle every single day.
Yeah, it's true.
And when you're not,
Mm-hmm.
the biggest thing that I see people carry, one of these weights they carry,
Mm-hmm.
they think something's wrong with them.
Mm-hmm.
And they are always focused on the things they have to fix.
Yeah.
There have been several people that I've talked to that I've looked at them and I said, I need you to hear me.
Mm-hmm.
There is nothing wrong with you. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Because who you are is who you had to become through everything.
With the knowledge you had, like you said prior.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But then also look back and go, I want you to think of your hardest, most difficult, darkest, overwhelming moment.
Mm-hmm.
Sit in it for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You're not there anymore.
Yep.
You got through it.
Yep.
May not have been pretty. You did everything you could and it was scrappy.
Yep.
You might have lost a little bit of your soul along the way to get out of it.
Yep.
But you got out of it.
Yep.
And it's like that scar.
Mm-hmm.
Let's revisit what you came from
Mm-hmm.
to prove to yourself how strong you actually are. Look at all that you can actually handle. Your darkest moment that you can reflect on. It's not here anymore.
Right.
Prepared you.
Mm-hmm.
More stuff's coming. But if you can look at yourself and go, man, I am amazed at what I was able to come through. That's a whole different outlook on your own life. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But too often we're looking for people to give us that validation.
Yes.
When there is so much in our own history to just go, I am, as I am right now, there is nothing wrong with me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. Because I used to look for validation everywhere and I wanted everyone to like me. And now I can tell you, just working on myself, now that I have a business and I'm happy, of course I'm not happy every day, it's not perfect, but I'm happy with where I'm going in life. And I always say now, like that TikTok, I like me. So your like is extra. It's nice if you like me, sure. But if you don't, it doesn't affect me because I like me. And that's it.
I was talking to my daughter. She's 14, going on 30. She's going to run she's going to run like 9 companies, and I'm probably going to end up working for her at some point. But we were talking about emotions, and she was kind of sharing, and she said, I forget what word she used. I think she said I'm kind of depressed today. I said, actually, you're not. I said, don't take the identity of it. You might be feeling depressed,
but you're not depressed.
Mm-hmm.
I actually heard a sermon about that the other day. Don't say you are these things that the enemy wants you to be and take on.
Because you're not those.
No, you're not those things. You may be feeling those things, but that's not you. That's not your identity. That is not who you are. But when you say you are those things, then you really do become those things.
It becomes permanent.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When you say I feel something, feelings are inconsistent.
Yep.
They're conditional. They're environmental. If I'm feeling angry, you're already telling yourself it's temporary.
Yeah.
It's not who you are.
Right.
I feel really angry. Why am I feeling angry? Man, this person did this and that really pissed me off. Well, why did that piss me off? Oh, because it reminded me of this situation, this thing that happened, and then you kind of work through it.
Yeah.
But when you say, I'm angry, you're beginning to say I'm an angry person.
Yes.
And if you continue that and you master that, it now becomes a layer that over time you believe to just be your personality.
Yep.
It can be if you let it. But if you begin to reframe these things that we say, if we become more consciously aware of our thoughts and the words that we speak and begin to speak things as what they really are, not what we're identifying them to be, our lives will completely change.
Yep.
Who we see in the mirror. I had a buddy of mine, it was about a year ago. He asked me such the off the wall question. He goes, "Hey MD, when's the last time you looked at yourself in the mirror?" I went, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
He said, "When was the last time you actually looked at yourself in the mirror?" He goes, "You can look around yourself, fix your hair, shave, whatever. But when's the last time you actually looked at yourself?" And I couldn't remember. Like, it's not that I consciously do it or don't do it. He goes, I'll be honest. He said something I've had to kind of work through, because when I'm not looking at myself, I'm ashamed of something because I don't want to look at me. And he said, pay attention. He said, because the days that you actually do look at yourself in the mirror are the days that you feel really good.
Oh.
I was like,
yeah.
And it was like the one last comment from a hilarious bro out conversation on the phone.
Wow.
It was the craziest thing ever. And I thought, I mean, there we are again, facing practicalities of life to give us these indicators.
Yep.
If we just pay attention.
Yep.
You know? I mean, if I'm criticizing people all the time, then there's something in my life that I'm not facing.
Yep. I've always said
that I'm unhappy with.
People who criticize people all the time or just have nothing but negative things to talk about people all the time. Or really, when you're just talking about people all the time, then you're unhappy and you got to look at yourself.
You're avoiding your own things,
yes. Yeah. Yep. Because a happy person, a successful person is never really actually talking about other people.
They're too focused.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
What people do and say is a window into who and where they are. Our reaction is a window into who and where we are.
Yep.
Once you actually grasp that, you realize the world's not coming at you personally.
Yeah.
That person is not intentionally trying to cut you off because they wanted to piss you off, a total stranger.
Yeah.
They could be late for their first job.
Yeah. Yeah.
They could have a family member in the hospital. Like it's not personal.
Yep. And that's one thing that I feel like I've grown so much in that aspect. Like now I don't see things like in a personal aspect. Like now if someone does something that I would take personally before, now I'm like, man, I wonder what's going on in their life, you know? And, or I'll tell like I told Layla, she was dealing with like a little mean girl in kindergarten. And I told her, baby, you know, sometimes we don't know what people are going through at home. You don't know what that little girl's going through. But at the same time, I don't want my daughter coming home pinched. I don't want her coming home crying and not wanting to go to school because this little girl's stomping on her feet all the time and pushing chairs against her and like, you know, being cruel. And so I told Layla, I was like, you need to stomp her feet back, like stomp on her feet or like do what she does to you and maybe she'll stop, because we already talked to the teacher. We already did everything that, you know, I told her avoid her. And she's like, but she comes to me, and Layla's this like really sweet girl. And I know she's my daughter, but when I tell you, she's like this really sweet girl. Like she told me, no, mommy, I don't want to be like her. I don't want to be a mean girl. I just want her to stop. And I was like, but at what point, baby, at what point do you understand like self-defense too? You know, like as a mom, I'm like, but then her, just seeing her soul and how like, she's like, I don't want to be like her. I just want her to stop. It's like, oh man. But yeah, like you just, when you start, you know, thinking like, well, I wonder what they're going through, you stop taking things personally. You realize that they're probably going through something that's affecting them and it's bleeding into other things like relationships or other people, strangers, and they don't even realize it sometimes, you know? So
they're projecting.
Yeah. Yep.
You have to step out of yourself to be able to do that.
Yes.
Because if not, then you're going to get wrapped up into the emotional reaction because you think it's personal when people really don't care.
Yeah.
They are people are so caught up in protecting themselves from any threat, from any trigger, from anything in life. Unless you're an absolute sociopath, and this is, if people can truly hear this, when you realize the majority are not sociopaths, which means nobody is intentionally getting up and looking for a way to harm you at all.
Right.
But we take it so personal because we're so hypersensitive.
Yeah.
Because we haven't healed so much of our own lives.
Yeah.
So we think, again, total strangers are out to traumatize us like those who actually did in our past. Yeah. So when you let people go of the responsibility of your own emotional stability and realize there's only two things I can control, my actions and reactions. That is it.
Yep.
And whatever they do, if they do something hurtful, that's just telling me that they are immensely suffering.
Yep. Absolutely.
To be at a point that they either have to throw shade on somebody's social media post, they don't even know you.
Yeah.
Or do or say something that hurts you, tries to sabotage something or gossip about you.
Yep.
All that shows is they
Yep.
are
Their
suffering.
own insecurities, their own sufferings, the things that they're going through that they probably don't, maybe they realize it or, just, it's all personal.
Well, the reality is hurt people hurt people.
Yes. And misery loves company.
And when people are unwilling to heal what they're going through, as people, we are drawn, we have that village mentality. We don't want to be alone, but especially in our own suffering.
Yeah.
But rather than fix our shit, we would rather create shit for other people.
Yeah.
So now we're not alone. Rather than heal and move on and become stronger, I'm going to tear you down.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
When you can finally get a little compassion and empathy was probably the greatest. I did learn it because of the abuse I had as a kid. Learned skill. Had to figure out what mother was walking in within a nanosecond, hearing how the keys hit the counter and the tempo, all these things I had to learn how to read as a kid. But empathy is also a tremendous skill when you are able to use that in a way to understand people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
That was probably one of the greatest reliefs in life, was realizing I actually don't matter to people. I'm not people's target.
Yep.
That's pretty empowering, actually. That takes a lot of pressure off. But the moment that you can begin to validate yourself and be proud of yourself, you don't really need it external. It's like you said.
Yep.
I don't need the like.
Yep.
I appreciate it. I don't need it. I'm not doing it for that.
Yeah.
And your blog is proof.
Yeah.
You're not pandering for external validation, right?
Yep.
You're just trying to do something you love and help people.
Yep.
If and when it kind of sparks, right?
Yep.
For somebody who's newly married, what would be a piece of advice you would give them, May, of how to build a fulfilling marriage?
Oh, man. One, for sure, always communicate. Always. And always remember, because I always have to, well, not anymore, but I had to remind myself, the grass isn't greener. There's always going to be something that you learn about this person that you don't necessarily like. You're not going to like everything. You're not going to love everything about them, but when you can love them through all of that and learn to work on that every day and just, work on your marriage, focus on your marriage, I feel like it works. It works because I feel like people, are so fast to give up on something, or with my marriage, I wanted to give up a lot of times too, because I felt like there were so many things I didn't like as well, and the grass isn't greener wherever you go. It's where you water it. So water your relationship every day. Communicate. Really, that's all I've got. Nothing.
What do you think is one of the greatest assumptions that almost set relationships up for failure from day one that people currently face?
I feel like people think it's always pretty, and people think that you're supposed to be in love every day. And I think also there's a lot of pornography on social media now. It doesn't, you don't have to go to Pornhub.com now. You know what I'm saying? You just log on to Instagram. I'm sorry for saying that, but you just and it's right there. And it's like,
yep.
Social media, stop comparing your relationship to her relationship, his relationship. Stop comparing your spouse to her, or stop comparing him to him. Love the person in front of you. Remind yourself why you said yes in the first place, and work at it every day. Because no matter where you go, if you don't work on it with this person, the next relationship isn't going to be great either. Until you learn that you need to water your own grass. That's where it stays green. Shoot, your neighbor's grass may be fake and you don't even know it. You know what I'm saying? It's true. But when you focus on your stuff, that's what matters. That's when it thrives. Because you're growing that, you're nurturing that, you're watering that, you're giving it sunlight, you know. It's just, it's just like plants. You know, you got to water them and nurture them and take care of them. Same with your relationship and yourself. And always also take care of yourself. Because when you're happy, everyone around you is happy. When you're working on yourself first, everyone benefits from that too.
I think what listeners need to understand is what May's talking about is not self-gratification of the impulse of everything that gives you surface level fulfillment.
Yes, yeah.
It's looking for ways to actually grow yourself, heal through past issues, address things, own things that I was telling my daughter, she has this boyfriend. It's the cutest thing ever. It's so cute. He's a sweet kid. It's just my daughter, both my kids are extremely open, which I love. My daughter is, she's my spirit animal at 14. Like it's just, there's something with, daddies and daughters that's very unique.
I see it with my daughter and her, and her dad.
And it's such a different relationship than with me and my son. And that's uniquely special. But we were talking about dating, and one of the misconceptions in the religious confines of relationships is, God has this one person, so it's the search of the one. And I told her, I said, I'm going to give you a different perspective. I said, don't search for the one. Dating is actually about finding you.
Yeah.
Because you don't know how you are in relationships.
Yep.
And I said, but what you want is pressure. Pressure is the privilege, because pressure is going to allow the white paint that we put on red flags will cause it to fall off. Because if you're looking for the one, and let's say you have this list of 10 things that you feel are ideal characteristics, and this one guy comes along and he fulfills 5. You think that that's the best it's going to get. So you'll either negate the other 5 that you intrinsically really need out of a relationship, and you'll end up forcing a relationship to work for you that doesn't.
Yeah.
And then you're going to come to the realization that this is the worst ingredient for brownies ever.
Yeah.
But you're in it.
Yeah.
And I said, so don't look for somebody to fit you. Find out who you are through dating.
Yeah.
That's the point. It's a discovery, because you don't know how you are in a relationship.
Right.
Right? But I did tell her, I said, don't date. Be friends.
Yeah.
Because when guys are trying to impress you, they're not showing you who they really are. When they're broing out, you're going to hear how they talk about their friends. You're going to hear how they talk about family. You're going to hear how they deal with everything. They're going to be very honest with you. Then you're able to really diagnose who this dude really is.
Yeah.
But if you do it under dating, you got to wait for times when they're under pressure.
Yep.
And when their real face comes out.
Yep.
Do they have a temper? Are they truly loyal? You don't know these qualities. Nobody's going to present these lesser qualities up front.
No.
When they're trying to get something from you.
Yep.
You know? And she goes, okay, fair. And this dude that's her boyfriend, they've been friends for a couple of years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's the cutest thing ever.
Yeah.
Really. But, ultimately, especially in relationships because it's not love in the beginning.
No.
It's bliss. It's infatuation. And
it's not love at first sight.
Well, I mean, you think about it. So we have 5 love languages, right?
Yes.
What's yours? What's like the 1-2 punch for you?
Mine is, it used to be gifts, but now it's acts of service.
I heard an interesting statement that said our love language is actually what we didn't get as a kid.
Wow.
That kind of gave me like a, whoa.
Yeah.
You know, when I read that, and I thought, now that's compelling.
Wow. Yeah.
Now you could also argue it could be what you were shown the most of.
Oh, well.
Right. So there's the ulterior perspective, but relationship, and this is what I think that we often overlook in relationships with that bliss, is that in the beginning, it's amazing because we're getting a taste of all the love languages in the beginning.
Yeah.
We're getting hit by everything.
Yeah.
There's so much effort, so much time and energy put into trying to get somebody to like you with the whole song and dance of dating and all that. And everything's amazing.
Yeah.
Because we haven't really come down to the core of who you are as individuals when the dust settles from the bliss.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
To then understand, is this person really trying to get to know me and understand me, or are they just trying to get something from me? Is this a sales pitch, or is this a partnership?
You nailed it. Yeah. It's true.
And that's one of the hardest things to get through in life, because we so desperately want to be loved by somebody, truly loved by somebody, accepted for our most raw, ugly, vulnerable part of us.
Yeah.
And them to look at us and go, you're enough.
Yeah.
I don't want you to change. I don't want you to try to fix anything. Because I did hear many, many years ago, if you can look at somebody for who they are today, assuming they will never change, because most don't. They evolve and grow, but most, they kind of become these creatures of habit. If you can truly love them for who they are, and assuming they never change, you truly love them.
Wow.
If you're in it because you think it's a fixer-upper,
oh yeah,
or you love them because you see this potential in them, well, that's where you're painting all these red flags white.
Yep.
You're actually looking for something that you need to fix within yourself first.
Yeah.
Because this Jerry Maguire fantasy, you complete me bullshit, I think that's the greatest setup for failure.
Yeah.
Because the mere fact of you're looking for somebody to complete you, that's the problem.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It is not your job to complete me.
No. Yep.
Because I'm expecting you to fulfill something that you have no capacity to do.
Yep.
That's me. And if I'm so codependent, I'm not going to let you be you either.
Yeah.
Because you have to fulfill me. Now we start going down the rabbit hole of like how relationships just spin.
Yeah.
But it comes down to being in a relationship because it's something that you can give somebody, because you're whole. Now, we got baggage, we got trauma, we're not perfect. We're not at a place where we've arrived. But when you go, you know what? I like you enough. We've been through enough pressure. I dig your vibe. And I like how we complement one another. Let's do this. Because it's a partnership.
Yep.
Business to a degree when it comes to finances, kids, yeah, and everything else. Like it's a partnership. But we talked about this earlier. There's something that a woman brings to a relationship that is so uniquely powerful, especially when you have kids.
Yep.
There's a part of being a mom that a dad can never fulfill. Nor should a man.
Nope. Yep.
But when you can look at each other and go, we can do this together, and I'm willing to fight. I'm willing to fight with you.
Yep.
Not at you.
Right.
Because that's when it starts to go sideways. You know?
Yeah.
But when I will say, for people that get into a lot of toxicity or arguments within your relationship, and what could be a little thing and you don't address it becomes a big thing.
Yes.
Then the thing is no longer the thing.
Yep. It's another thing. And then more things piled up on that one thing that could have been resolved and could have been talked about, but it just turned into a bunch of other different things.
People get to a point where sometimes they feel like, I just don't know you anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And the thing that I'll say to you, and correct me if I'm wrong, that from all the hurts and all the things that you're in right now, and you're like at a complete position of, I don't know them, I don't love them anymore. I get it. I get it. But if you can kind of remove the vengeance and go, did this person really mean to make me feel this way?
Right.
Probably not. Maybe it feels like it.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, is that person, do they wake up every day to intentionally just shred you down to nothing?
Mm-hmm.
And unless you're with a sociopath or a deep narcissist, it's not the case.
Right.
But if you can come back to the place of the human that's just acting out of fear
Mm-hmm.
and self-protection, you can probably save your relationship.
Yep. I agree.
And have some prayer in there, maybe a little bit of humility.
Yes. Lots of prayer and lots of humility.
May, any final thoughts? Anything that you want to say to the listeners?
No, I just want to say thank you. And hopefully this helped somebody, you know, and you're not alone. Don't compare your life and your circumstances to, you know, all the highlight reels on social media. You know, because that's what we do nowadays. And just give yourself some grace.
Man, that is so good.
Mm-hmm. Just give yourself some grace.
Do you have any questions for me?
I don't, but I'm sure I will. I'm going to be texting you like, actually, we're going to have to do another podcast because I have some questions.
May, thank you for coming today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Stories like yours are not easy to share openly because sometimes you have to open up a closet a little bit.
Yeah.
But again, I think it speaks to your testament as a person who has overcome a lot that a lot of people can't fathom, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But to see you come through all of that and be where you are today, I think gives a lot of people hope.
I hope.
Guys, thank you so much for listening today. It is stories like this are what I can only hope give you some hope, give you a little light when so many people are suffering. But oftentimes we're suffering at our own demise. We hold on to things that we shouldn't be holding on to, and we're keeping our focus on the things that are holding us back. With people like May that you can learn their stories from, and I do hope that you connect with her on her Instagram at Let's Drink Pink. She's very real, she's very honest, and she loves the pink drink because of what it's been able to give to her and her health. But above all, with her life and her story and where she's moving on from here, she is, and I say this with absolute sincerity, she is one of the most genuine people I've ever been able to truly call a friend.
Thank you.
Guys, thank you so much. And remember, you're going to make 35,000 decisions a day. Make the ones that help you and not hold you back. Until next time, be great.